Welcome to the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you.
Looky, Senator. Decent Jedi arriving.
Let's make this our best show ever.
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I am the Senate.
This is the way.
Hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome to the March 2023 episode of the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast. This episode is recorded on Sunday, the 12th of March 2023, using the powerful dyad of the Force, which pairs two Force-sensitive beings, making them one with the Force, and sharing a connection that spans across time and space, otherwise known as Microsoft and Skype in this case. My name is Stephen, the Chancellor of the Senate, the obligatory Brit contingent of this otherwise American skeleton crew, as we get together to talk positively about Star Wars for roughly the next hour or so. This episode is brought to you by Poe Dameron.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
And the reason for this is because Poe is played by Oscar Isaac. And of course, at this date, in March the 12th, as we're recording this, it is the 95th Academy Awards tonight, held in Los Angeles. I will not be watching, and unfortunately I don't think Star Wars is up for anything, so it's even less of a reason to watch it.
It's just very hard to understand you with all the apparatus.
And
I don't think they've had any movies, Stephen, to be nominated.
a movie. Well, they should have TV stuff in it as well, shouldn't they? I mean, nobody watches.
Put a New Hope in again, so can
No one watches movies anymore. That's another conversation I was having online as well. But we're on to that now. Anyhow, before we get going as proper with the show, it's time to have a quick word from our sponsors.
Fishing that new BT-16? Yeah, some of the other guys are telling me about it. They say it's quite a thing to see.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. And as ever, we thank the sponsors because without them, we could not do the show. So, whereas I'm in the UK, I am joined as ever across the great big vast pond by my positive friends in the United States of America. And on this month's show, in random Skype order, we have Ricky.
Hello.
Ron.
Greetings, fellow senators and chancellor.
And Marie.
Hello.
And on this month's show, or this episode of this recording, we are mostly going to have a recap on the episodes of The Bad Batch that but we got roughly, we was all surprised to find out that we got roughly about 6 episodes of The Bad Batch since we last recorded an episode. So we will be going through them quickly-ish, but also deliciously. But first, before we do that, we're going to go around the massive table and hear what everybody's been up to in the last 30 days or so in Star Wars land since we convened in this hallowed space of the Senate. And we will start with Ricky.
Hello. What have I done? I pre-ordered Jedi Survivor. So that's something I've done. The game's expensive, but I pre-ordered it anyways. So I get all my worth the money cosmetics in the game. So that's something I'm looking for. I think that comes out next month, if I remember. I don't know. Just doing that. I rewatched Andor a bit. I did rewatch before Mando started. People were kind of saying that let people know that there's episodes of Boba Fett that had Mando in it. So my in-laws just happened to be over one weekend, and I'm like, well, did you guys watch? They're all excited for Mandalorian. I'm like, well, did you watch Book of Boba Fett? And they're like, well, we didn't finish watching it. I'm like, we got to watch the last 3 episodes, and everybody was so into it. It was like watching the movie, the last 3 episodes. So that was a fun evening that we had here. Besides that, I don't really know what else I've done. Got a couple action figures. Oh, I bought a Jabba's Palace little card game at the comic book shop the other day, which was just pretty cool. So I'd never seen it. I posted some pictures in the other chat, but I'll try to see if I can get some up here. But yeah, other than that, hasn't really been anything too crazy. Just rewatching episodes and Mando and Bad Batch and stuff. So it's been pretty good. Lots of content. I'm always happy.
actually had it. My intention was last week to start rewatching the Book of Boba Fett. That was ever great intentions that I have. I didn't actually get around to it yet, but I will. Okay, onwards to Ron.
Greetings, everyone. Mine has been light. Usually this time of year is a good time of year to find some good stuff on clearance after the Valentine's Day, but I was too late. It's a very, very small window to find anything. I'm going to post one of the few things I did find in the chat, a little picture of a flashing necklace of Grogu. They definitely have marketed and squeezed everything they can out of that little dude, and it was one of the few things I found in the clearance rack after Valentine's Day. I was hoping to find some of the various Valentine. I've got a collection of Valentine's cards that have happened over the years. It's neat to see those. They'll include pencils or pens, but all of that stuff is obviously long gone. There's a very small window after that. So that's been a very short or a light bit of Star Warsing for me for the past since we've last chatted. Aside from consuming content, we've had so much great content on TV, having dual shows drop now on the same night. It's been a lot of Star Warsing in terms of sitting in my easy chair and consuming it all on my big screen. So that's all I'm going to have for this session. Not much to talk of.
And is there any sale barge update?
Oh my, no.
I was just I have the obligatory have to ask that every time we record.
Oh, I posted. I forgot I had another picture. The necklace blinks. Ooh, the thing where they add the LED that blinks like the primary colors, just about anything to make kids go, ooh, that's neat. It had that feature. That'll last for as long as that battery wants to last. Anyway, yep, that's all I've got.
Oh, Steven, I forgot I mentioned something. I did start reading Jedi Battle Scars, which is a tie-in novel for the game. So that's another thing. Forgot. Like I said, there's too much content to keep track of.
There is too much content. Which reminds me, I think somebody sent me a link to I think there's some content released of the Jedi Survivor game, isn't there? I think some of the story and stuff, but I haven't.
Yeah, I'm trying to go in blind. I'm not looking at anything.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't watched it yet. I mean, I have a hard job with the Jedi Survivor, the game stuff. It kind of feels like it's more. I know it's canon, but in my head it feels Legends. But that's only because it's not on TV or in a now. But yeah, I'm having a hard in my head. Carl, whatever he's called, doesn't exist, but I know he does. So hopefully one day I'll get a bit more into that. Okay, Marie.
Actually, I've been doing quite a bit. I went back and I started reading the original kickoff to the what they now call Legends, which is Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire trilogy, and then I ended up giving it up as a bad job and started listening to the audiobooks instead, because I found the expanded audiobooks. The original ones weren't great because they were abridged, but the expanded ones have Mark Thompson, and I love Mark Thompson, great narrator, so I've been listening to those, and I am now on The Last Command, which is the last book. What else? I've been watching, of course, The Bad Batch, catching up with Mando. Watched Revenge of the Sith for a little bit last night because I was catching something that a friend of mine posted about Palpatine kind of in the first part of the movie being kind of shady about Obi-Wan and his presence there, and Obi-Wan kind of there's a point at which Obi-Wan kind of cottons on to the fact that someone or something is hindering them, but he doesn't quite put his finger on it. And I was like, wow, you're right. Every time I watch that movie, I get something new out of it, and it's great. Other than that, not much. I had plans to go to Celebration in a couple weeks, but unfortunately, I will not be attending, as we discussed a little earlier on. But yeah, if any of you guys are going to that, if anybody out there is going to that, have a great time. I will live vicariously through all your posts and Twitters and all that kind of stuff. But that's about it from here.
I'm pleased it's going to be Stephen friendly in terms of what time live streams are going to be on and stuff. Because last celebration, I could only watch the first hour, then I went to bed. Yeah. There's nothing quite like watching stuff live. I know you can watch things on demand, as I said before.
Willow season 2 trailer started off.
Well,
Oh.
yes. Oh, yes. So I tuned into. Yeah, we said that at the time. I tuned in to watch it, and then it was like 10 minutes of Widow. I've never been so flattened by my anticipation of sitting down to watch stuff and having it taken away from me. It's like somebody pulling the rug from underneath your feet. It was.
Well, they are
very
live streaming it
disappointing.
again this year, so.
I'm sure that won't happen this year. Well, no, we've got rid of the TV series and stuff to go. Anyhow, so I don't know what time did the live stream start over there? I suppose they night in the morning, or they afternoon, or
They would start probably whenever the doors opened, which was
Oh,
like
right.
around 9-10, whenever the convention started, and they would go till it ended.
I love watching stuff live. I just can't watch things on demand as
Spend
much.
all night watching it, don't you?
Oh yes, that's true. Okay,
I posted some pictures in the chat. The one bit of Star Warsing that I would wish I could have done, but there's just no way I get that past my
is that a fridge?
ever. Usually I can talk her into it.
Sure
Wife.
you might
but-
notice that one.
Yeah, that one I can't
It's-
squirrel
it's
away.
a
But
massive
somewhere in my
fridge.
Facebook feed is a Force Awakens branded GE fridge. Had no idea such a thing existed. I wondered. I really would like to take a look at it. I wonder if it's just like a silkscreen sticker on a regular fridge is what I'm assuming it's going to be. I can't imagine it's anything sort of super permanent or I don't know. It looks a little faded. Could just be the picture. It's been in the store since 2019 or whatever. But yeah, that would be an interesting collectible to have for sure. But don't think I'm gonna, even though it meets my
Rise Skywalker.
Yeah, don't think even though it meets my on clearance criteria or whatever, don't think I could squeeze that one in. If it was a mini fridge, maybe, but that's a full size. I didn't put all the pictures.
It is at the very least practical as well. So
Touche. Right
We
up
do need a
until
refrigerator. Ours is going out.
there you go, Ricky.
Where is this at?
It's on the East Coast somewhere.
Um,
Get it
why
shipped.
would for a garage fridge? I would do that.
Yeah, see, that's what I need. I need a garage. I need my man cave. Don't have such a thing. Or what I do have is in the attic and the top of the house, and you're just not putting a fridge up there.
Yeah.
Not a full size. You're not getting a full size fridge up there. Anyway,
No.
all right. So let's get after it. Bad Batch.
Well, just before we do that, though, I have to say my Star Wars in the last 30 days, I have got something to report for once, and I will. I don't even know what my mic is on the laptop. You can hear.
Put together your sail barge.
I have got a book in front of me. It is. Oh no!
Oh, yeah.
I just spilled some chocolate on it. It is the Chronicles of the Jedi, the High Republic book. It is probably about. I tried for some strange reason. It hasn't got numbering on the pages, so I'm not
What?
sure exactly how many. No, it's a
That's a
book.
bit
No
daft.
numbers and no contents. I mean, is it a book? But I assume the reason for that is probably because it's written. The introduction is written by a Jedi we haven't heard of before called. I can't actually read it very much. I think it's Hartai Kogra. He does the introduction there, and the whole of the book, the whole 150 pages or so, is him writing from his perspective as he chronicles basically everything that's happened in Phase 1 and a little bit of Phase 2 of the High Republic. So I would say if you haven't followed the High Republic at all, somebody like Ron, then this would be a good book to get because it basically summarizes everything. Just read through it, and you can read through what's happened in all the books, all the main bits of the story, all the main characters, and you've skipped all those extra hours of trying to read all the books. Or if you've been reading the High Republic and you have a time thinking what the heck's going on, this is good for you as well. Or if you've not read some of the junior novels that are in the High Republic, they're covered in here as well. Or if you're like me, you pretty much read everything and followed everything in the High Republic, but you're still a bit confused about what's going on and who people are and what they look like. This is for you as well. It is basically, there's loads of images, all new artwork of all the various Jedi and other characters in here. Full page, small pages. There's nothing to dislike in here. The only thing people might dislike is it is 30 quid. At least it's £30 in UK money. I'm not sure what it's going to be in the US. I thankfully used £20 gift vouchers to sort of make it a bit more sweeter. And I bought it on a whim of not really knowing what was in it because there's not a lot of information online about exactly what you would get when you open the book. but there's a lot of text and there's a lot of artwork. This is not a loosey goosey or whatever that means. There's about help me out here, Stephen. There's 7 chapters, taking you all the way up to the fourth Starlight.
Fascinating, Stephen. So it's not a High Republic story, but
Nope.
it's also not a High Republic reference guide. That it's broken down into chapters that are
Broken down into
telling
chapters. I was actually gonna-
stories.
I'm gonna
How do
I was going to try and
chapters?
record a video on this, but I've so far failed to get.
What-
So
what was
I'll
the
take
name of the book
universe,
again?
Like,
Chronicles of the Jedi. It says actually
Chronicles, okay.
it's an illustrated guide to the galaxy's golden age. And I said there's 5 chapters. So the first chapter is chapter 1 for Light and Life. And this basically goes through the era that we're in, how the Republic is set up and the Jedi's relationship to it. Goes through all the characters of the Jedi Council. And there's lots of images and stuff. And we get a galactic map. So you can pull out this little fold-out map. For some strange reason, it's the same on both sides. For some
it's
reason,
$30 on Amazon. Bro.
Yeah. So that's the first chapter. I mean, and that's 20 pages. So it's not a small amount of words on each page. It's very verbose. And then the second chapter is called The Jedi of the Frontier, and it's basically this is all the Phase 2 stuff, which I was surprised to find in here. And this talks about hyperspace prospecting, Pathfinder teams, the Jedi's on the frontier, the Followers of the Force, Path of the Hand. We've got a picture of the Mother and the Herald are in here. Some spoilers from the Battle of Jeddah, which I won't go into. Well, actually, we talked about it, haven't we? So you see pictures of the that great big statue that we see in Rogue One. There's an image, there's some artwork of it being felled as it happens in this in that book. So chapter 2 is basically Phase 2. Then chapter 3 is Beacons of the Republic. It talks about Starlight Beacon, and then it starts. This is where it starts going chronological. So we get the Great Hyperspace Disaster. We get the Jedi at Hetzel, the Song of the Force. We talk about Ava Chris, all the main big Jedi and stuff like that. And then we goes into chapter 4. It's all about the Republic's expansion. So it talks about Nina Sol, the Nihil. Actually, this is a lot of it on the Nihil.
So Ryan found a way to capitalize on all his fellow senator Ryan found a way to capitalize on all his fantastic note taking. That's awesome. Good for him.
Every Jedi is covered. Unfortunately, there is no Geode in this. I have not seen any mention of Geode.
Even if you read that Jedi's name backwards, is it spelled Ryan?
There's only one thing I don't like so much about this book, and it's similar to the last book I got, the Secrets of the Sith book. There's flaps in this, bits that open up and move around, and they're stuck in. So it sounds like a great idea, but they're very loose. So I can see these things. If you're a collector, you have to keep things in pristine condition and stuff. These are the kind of things that would drive you nuts, because I can see some of these things getting caught in the pages as you're opening and shutting them, or they're the kind of things that get creased very easily and annoying.
Certainly.
Yeah.
That type of stuff is books are very challenging to collect and keep pristine because of things like that.
I think a lot of these things are actually not necessary. I don't think they needed to do this. Why not just have the image of the lightsaber on the page and not some sort of pull off, loose thing. It's only nearly stuck on by a very little small bit. It's not going to come off, but it flaps about a bit. And what really would have probably made any of you not send this book back, one of the pages was stuck together because of the glue they used to stick these things on it. So I had to slightly prise it apart, and there was a little blemish on one of the pages because of it. And you guys might well have sent that back, just a bit lazy, and I thought it's not the end of the world.
Truly a challenge. Yeah, I have some book that was earmarked by the author and autographed and annotations and all sorts of stuff. And it was one of those expanded where they take a ship or take things and explode it apart and explain all the pieces. And it had that type of trifold where you get to that page and you can open it up and make it even bigger. It's not a poster because it's connected to the book, but that page didn't get folded back into the book correctly and gets creased and dog-eared because if you're not careful when you put it in. So yeah, those things are neat and gimmicky and an additional step, but it does make for a challenge to keeping the book pristine, if you will, from a collector standpoint. But those creases and the like show that it was well loved, used, read, and otherwise, informative to somebody at some point in time.
So
it sounds like a cool book.
It's absolutely it's top notch. I mean, I've got the Secrets of the Sith book, which was nice. And that's written from the perspective of Palpatine, I think it was. But even this has got substantially more text and original artwork in it than even that book, and it's slightly smaller. That Secrets of the Sith book was annoyingly quite large, but it didn't really need to be. So I recommend it to people who are just curious about the High Republic, people who've been reading the High Republic and think they know everything there is to know about it, because at the very least there's new artwork in here of characters that probably haven't had any artwork before. So it's worth a read. Recommend it to everybody.
Yeah. It's always nice to know what the Jedis and the characters look like when you're reading the book.
Yeah, it's very, very handy for that. I haven't read through it, I haven't digested it. For me, I can't guarantee that there aren't people missed out in this, but from what I can see, the vast majority are covered one way or the other.
Do they do any real world photos, or it's all illustrations, right?
No, it's all art. It's all art.
It's all artwork. Yeah, cool.
That's art. But it's pretty cool art. But actually, some of the artwork is a little bit, J.J. Abrams loves his lens flare and stuff. And some of his artwork's got a bit of a pastel-y haze to it. A bit like where you might do the work and then you might sort of slightly rub over it afterwards. Then it's not crisp, clear artwork. It is probably a bit, I don't know how you would describe it. Wait till somebody else has got the book and they can tell me what they think this kind of art is. But it is very good. It is very good. Thoroughly recommend it. Gets a Stephen thumbs up, and that's not easy to get. So stick it in your wish list.
Is it meant to look kind of oldish, maybe? Like
no, not that I'm aware of, but maybe.
Not you. So you're going for is it meant to be like an in-universe sort of guide or something type of thing, Marie, versus a more contemporary? It's just a book for us to consume the High Republic info.
I'm wondering if it's meant to look like some kind of like ancient chronicle, and so
you might be right there, because a couple of the flappy bits have got sort of fake charred bits on the edges.
Oh, all right. So it is an in-universe type of resource.
Cool. It could be that you're sort of pretending that you found something in a Jedi temple shelf and picked it up, sort of thing. But then other bits don't really look like that. I don't really know what I don't know. I can't tell.
That's neat when you're a kid. I mean, it's neat as you're an adult too, but it's neat for the kid to sort of have that sort of thinking.
Yeah, if you had
some sort of resource or.
You bought it for your family, you had some kids around, I wouldn't let them anywhere near the book if you wanted to keep it pristine because of those facts.
Well,
buy them Jedi text.
Yeah, exactly. Buy them a copy and then keep a copy for yourself in your man cave.
Well, yeah, that's what you have to do, exactly.
Yeah.
You got your reader, or you wait through you buy your from the collector standpoint, right? So you buy the legit book now, you sit on it, and you comb the used bookstores later, and wait till you find where you can find that used copy of it that might have the and then you can read it or comb through it or whatever. I did that with the Vault, the Sansweet Vault that is just a treasure trove of old Star Wars memorabilia and history of it. And it's a great thing if you can ever find one ever. And I have one. It's got all kinds of inserts and replicas of stuff, whatever. It's awesome. I was like, man, how am I ever going to keep this? So it kind of sits on the bookshelf, whatever. Found one at a used bookstore once. I was like, this is awesome. I don't know if it has all the inserts. It might have been missing the CD that came with it or something like that. But it was great to finally have one to truly sort of dive into and really go through all of the various little inserts and fold outs and things that it has inside of it. Yeah, that's a way to do it. Have to buy one. What is it? One to rock and one to stock.
I expect once Ryan, who unfortunately can't join us today, and Ricky, maybe one of you other ones that buy this book, we'll probably talk about it again, because I suspect
I might have to
there's a lot more.
Yeah, I'll pick one up. Yeah, we'll have to do a signing about it sometime.
Because
we'll have to do something about it, because I know I'm probably getting a couple of Amazon gift cards somewhere in the next couple of weeks or so. So yeah, that'll probably make the list.
I expect there'll probably be some offers in different places. I've gone in a bit early. I think for some reason it's one of those books where it's out 3 weeks earlier than the US for reasons unknown to mankind. It's been quite troublesome in the high. We talked about actually in a bonus episode, which is out where we talked over High Republic stuff, that differences between release dates in the UK and the US for Audible books and the actual physical books, it just seems completely random. Sometimes I get them a couple of weeks before the US, and sometimes the US gets them a couple of weeks before we get them over here in the UK, and they're out of order sometimes, and it's just madness, as C3PO would say.
Yeah.
But
ability to sit on Amazon gift cards, it's fine if I have to wait a little bit. But I know the influx will be coming in literally a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it says pre-order right now, Stephen, at Barnes & Noble for March 21st. So
right.
Excellent. Oh no, it'll be in time for my birthday then.
So we might be able to talk about it in the next show, next month.
So you get that early, but then you don't get like
we're not going to have plenty of content to talk about.
Well, we'll have Mando to talk about. Yes, that's what I was going to say about that. I said this before. I'm still trying to work out is why Mandalorian is shortened to Mando.
It should be Manda.
Why not say Manda? Because technically it's Manda, but they've gone for Mando.
Case of real world bleeding into universe. So. Everyone just said Mando.
But anyhow, as I said before, we've got about 6 episodes of The Bad Batch to catch up on since we did our last Senate, which was roughly about the 2nd of February. We hope everybody's listened to by now. So the next episodes of The Bad Batch that came out after that were the 2 double joined together ones which came out on February 8th. And that was episode 7 of Help Me Out Season 2. And episode 8, which was The Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences. So just to remind everybody, because I was just surprised everybody else that we haven't actually talked about this one yet. So in the Imperial Senate, Rampart, that's is he an admiral or no, he's not admiral, he's Commander Rampart.
Yeah, admiral.
I say it's a great name for an Imperial commander, Rampart. Rampart pushes for the passing of a bill authorizing the military recruit of Imperial citizens, meaning that the clones will be officially discarded. Senator Chuchi, who defends the clones' fundamental rights, is approached by clone trooper Slip, whose friend Cade was murdered on Rampart's order when he defied the official version of Kamino's destruction by a storm disaster. I can't believe how many people in the Senate would have formed for that storm disaster story. Anyhow, Chuchi begins to investigate Rampart's conspiracy, alerting the Admiral, who sends an assassin after Slip. Just as Chuchi tries to convince Slip to testify, the assassin kills him. Before Chuchi can suffer the same fate, she is rescued by Rex, whom Slip summoned for help. Rex and Chuchi prepared to question the assassin, a clone, but he kills himself before Rex can acquire information from him. Gosh, talk about a series of unfortunate circumstances. And then in the follow-up, we get Rex contacts the Bad Batch and asks them to join him and Chuchi, who tells them about Rampart's plot. Provide evidence against him, Rex asks the Bad Batch to retrieve Slip's copy of Rampart's command log from his Star Destroyer, which is undergoing maintenance. While Omega accompanies Chuchi, who gets support from more senators, Rex and the rest of the Bad Batch sneak aboard the cruiser to retrieve the data. The next morning, with evidence in her hands, Chuchi exposes Rampart's attack on Kamino before the Senate, and he's arrested. But using the revelations of Rampart's atrocities to his advantage, Palps turns up.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
After some booming and trumpets and all that kind of stuff, and argues for the passage of the Defense Recruitment Bill into law. Before the batch leave Coruscant, Echo decides to stay behind and help Rex and Chuchi fight for a better future for the clones. What a double episode!
Talk about dramatic entrance.
It was it drums or was it trumpets? I can't remember. I know there was some kind of big thing that happened just before he turned up from his from Beno. Just literally 2 seconds after this revelation is uttered out, so he is ready for it. But that doesn't seem to faze anybody in there. So, what do we think, folks?
I like how they mentioned that Palpatine doesn't attend the Senates anymore, and then as soon as they start talking about something, he immediately appears. So it's he's he's actually there, but he's like so like entwined with everything. Like he's like, okay, I'm just gonna show up like that. I thought that was awesome.
Getting
Always
right
nice
to it, I was going to get to that at the end, but he had to be. He's not normally at the sentence because he just lets the bureaucracy and all that sort of stuff handle. But Rampart, much like is like a Dooku and knows a little bit of some insider, knows a little too much. So he has to show up and he has to put Rampart in his place or whatever. Rampart could have easily cried, "I'm just a patsy, I'm just a patsy, I'm just a pawn in all of this" type of thing or whatever. So yeah, I think that's why we see Palps where he's not normally at those things. This time he needs to because he has to clean up a bit of a mess that could unravel everything. And in true Palps form, nothing unravels at all, and it actually plays well, very well into his hand that he's all of that. He's able to sort of pin on Rampart's agenda as his own thing, the destruction of Camino and the just everything that goes into these two episodes with regards to Rampart and him ultimately being right. He's led away in cuffs or whatever at the end of the second episode. That there was speculation. I don't think we see Rampart ever again. There's no. I don't know why they would keep him alive. I don't know why Palps would keep him around. There's no benefit to keeping him around because he could spill beans as to why he was ultimately given orders to fire on the Kaminoan city. That it just, I don't think we ever see Rampart again. There's be no reason for him.
He's probably now building parts for the Death Star. And,
yeah. If he is alive, right? He's doing he's governing a post in Siberia or whatever that works in the Star Wars world. But fantastic episodes with Bail, Rex, Palpatine. Just a great, after all. Yeah, with all Tucci is a callback. We've definitely seen that one before in the Clone Wars. That with all of the sort of palate cleansing, aka filler type episodes that were just content week to week, this one was, or these two, let's say, were fantastic in terms of consequences and overall contributing to the grand Star Wars galaxy and story that we all know and love, because of we all kind of have that question of, well, wait, how did we get from clones to stormtroopers? What goes on there? And this had a little bit of that, and we got Palps. I mean, come on, well, you can't go wrong if you get Palps in your Star Wars story.
Oh no, absolutely.
Awesome Ada's in it too, right? I mean, we got it all.
Absolutely.
And they were in the mechanic shop at the end for the Trace sisters. What's her name?
Oh, touche. Yeah, lots of 6 degrees of separation, right? Right. I totally forgot about that. These episodes had Rex. Not a surprise, but a surprise to see Rex, and always a pleasure. But ended ultimately in Rex or Echo.
Rex made a reference to them, didn't he? He made a reference to them, didn't he? He said these belong to some of my friends or something.
Yeah, he did say something about old friends of mine. What the timeline of all this has to be, because where did that already take place? Obviously, it did, because he says old friends of mine, so he somehow met them. But what was
the quote? The war was still on during those episodes. So
what was the quote the assassin says to Rex? I meant to look that up, and I didn't get a chance to. But there's a great line there that shoot, you're a relic and I'm a believer, or something like that. That was a very interesting quote to hear the clone / assassin say to Rex in terms of what he's believed or whatever. And there was another part of the episodes where they said, after they captured the assassin, so it's going to be in the second episode, and after he's passed, that his identification number had been wiped. And Echo was like, I didn't even know that could be done. So his CT999, whatever his number is, no longer existed. So he either signed up for that, or they did that to make him an assassin. There's a whole episode there worthy of how someone creates such an assassin, and how he believes what he believes in to be firing on his own brothers, because he took out a SIP or Clip or whatever the clone's name was that knew what happened or was suggesting what happened. Shoot, what was his name? Slip. Took out Slip.
We've seen somebody use that electronic mouth thing before, right? That suicide pill thing.
Yes.
We see it in Rogue One. Do we see it? We definitely saw it. Didn't they capture the shuttle that had the cloning doctor on it, and the shuttle had a pilot, or shuttle had somebody, and an Imperial officer. Was that Mando? I guess, because that was live action, wasn't it? Yeah. And the Imperial officer, they were going to pump him for information or find out what was going on or whatever. And I think he pops a tooth cap and takes himself out. But yeah, definitely a trope we've seen in other movies and other stories. Easy enough. You got to get rid of a character, just have him do such a thing or whatever. But I think, this isn't the first time we've seen it in Star Wars, because we've definitely seen it before.
I like that we're getting the answers finally to what happened to the clones. When did stormtroopers finally start showing up? It's like meat and potatoes of this era.
You think these 2 episodes gave us answers? I think it just started.
Well, it's starting to.
Okay, yeah, it's opened the book that is the story of how we get from what happens to the clones, the clone troopers, let's say, why they were so outside of cost. At one point in time, it was a cost thing, because I remember kind of not being too keen on hearing.
Tarkin was like,
it's too expensive. It's just that money shouldn't be an issue for the Empire. That seems versus conscripts, you got to pay or give them something. I don't know. Just we have to get there, because we ultimately end up from clones to stormtroopers. But
I mean, they got to pay all those stormtroopers pensions, as we see in Andor, that they have vaults of funds.
And ultimately, right, that's the concern. There is the clones and what happens to them as they. I've heard rumblings that their sped up aging process only happens in those first years, so that they go from babies to kids to teens to fighting adults quickly. But then once they get to fighting adult age, or whatever you want to say, it doesn't keep doubling, or it slows down, or it's back to normal or something to some extent. I don't think it's ever been discussed in anything we've watched or seen, but a lot of speculation to some point.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get a soldier created and he only lasts like 5 years.
No, you want him to last a bit.
Yeah, you want him to get him up to speed and up to fighting age quick, and then have them around for as long as you can. These episodes also gave us Kaminoans. For the life of me, I would lose that trivia contest in a heartbeat. I don't remember which Kaminoan we got, or what role they play. I'm going to be speciesist, that they all look very much alike, but I was not surprised, but it was that they've kept a couple of the Kaminoans around. That there was one in Coruscant that they went to talk to, and it just seems an odd play to have them around that knows what happened to. Not that anybody might believe them, but
I do know their names. It's Nala Se, Lama Su, and the one that stays on Coruscant is Halle Burton, which always catches my attention.
Really? That's what's one of the names? I would have lost that bet too.
Halle
Did
Burton.
they show them on this episode? Were they on?
Yeah,
they're
in Coruscant, because they run around with, what's her name? Omega on Coruscant, which seemed odd to have her running around.
Strange, yes.
It was like,
I was thinking nobody's questioning this senator just going around with a random kid. Bring your kid to work day, sort of thing. It was an odd bit. No, odd, but
a whole different species. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's nobody's. And it seemed like I got a little bit confused, because I thought that Kaminoan sort of instantly recognised Omega as what I thought when she first looked. That she could tell that she was a clone, but then that wasn't, from the conversation that happened immediately afterwards. It didn't seem to be that was quite the case, unless she was doing that double bluff thing. She was some sort of like treasurer, wasn't she? Or I think she'd mostly always been that Kaminoan, always been on Coruscant doing some.
Maybe that's why I don't recognize Halle Burton. Right? Or she always been on? Or have they always been on Coruscant?
Yeah, I think she's got an earring. That's how you tell her apart.
But yeah, this had them going. They retrieved the plans, or they retrieved the video. I don't know why there'd be a video of the destruction of the Kaminoan city, but somebody either saved that there, or it was part of the ship's log that hadn't been erased. I don't know why Rampart wouldn't erase it, but the storytelling is storytelling. He needed to not erase it so that they could find it and use it as evidence. But They were just very exciting episodes.
It was all part of Palpatine's plan.
And I don't think so this time. He found a way to make it work out for sure
But
in
at
terms
some
of throwing
point-
Rampart under the bus.
But at some point before this, he must have found out what was going on. So you kind of wonder at what point he managed to find out what was going on to know that he could come in right at the last minute and turn it to his advantage.
Well, I had thoughts about that. If he's Jedi like Sith, like, you know, and always in motion, the future is whatever. But if he sees flashes of things and he sees, you know, has premonitions, let's say, in the Force of what might be coming, he can then start to plan for those should they actually come to fruition. Or, you know, if something comes to a head like that, he's like, all right, well, here's what we might have to do. You know, it doesn't come.
He
I guess
still has that
Rampart,
crystal ball that he looks into.
yeah, Rampart and the video and everything wasn't a complete and total surprise. If he is truly as powerful with the Force as he's supposed to be, even the dark side, he's seeing some. He might not see it crystal clearly, or he would have planned better or dealt with it better. But it's not catching him completely off guard that he's had some opportunity to give some thought as to how he might handle it should it come to light, or should it be get out there in some way, shape, or form, in the deft way that he does in terms of coming to the Senate and discussing it and ultimately throwing Rampart under the bus.
So I'm trying to remember some of the speech. Was some of the pros of passing this defense recruitment bill into law thing, was that because the clones can't be trusted sort of thing? Is that kind of thing that...
You mean Tucci's bill?
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of having a defense recruitment, the idea of getting human citizens into that, was that because they're saying that the clones were either too expensive, or the clones were becoming, you can't trust the clones.
Yeah, I think it was that they're trying to make it seem like they were like being dysfunctional, you know.
Well, it's stable. Another point to Ron's point about Palpatine and things like that. Being a totalitarian dictator, he's going to have eyes and ears everywhere. Think about that. So he knows what's going on, even when people think that he doesn't.
True. I was just wondering, because of the same, but the bill thing, because they're talking about if it was that the clones can't be trusted, you just got a really great commander who just can't be trusted, who is not a clone, who just.
Well, I think that was the thing. Like, they can get the clones to pretty much do whatever they want. So if you have somebody that's corrupted, then they'll have like their whole army that can be corrupted too, you know, because they're so complacent.
Well, true, but the clones just won them the flipping war.
Didn't they mention something about how like a regular construct soldier would have like questioned the orders or something like that?
I find that a bit vague and unconvincing, as somebody would say. I thought maybe both can just be just as bad as each other. There's pros and cons to both sides, aren't there? I mean, say that you've got a clone who's programmed to obey, and then you've got people who are convinced and honed to obey an order. I mean, there's in any way you would think that it'd be the non-clones that are actually more valuable than the clones. But yeah, it was. I think that's a bit of a weak. But in terms of
they got everybody riled up, and then they pointed fingers, and then
yeah,
that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So moving along. We come.
Well, I like how they end. The one, or they ultimately end.
We've got to mention that Echo left.
That Echo left. That's kind of a big deal. Ramifications for the show, obviously ramifications for Omega. We find that in the next episode. She takes that kind of hard or whatever, but that's a big deal. I was kind of surprised at that for sure to see him say that. Obviously, there's going to be some more story, or maybe he doesn't come back. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'm very much looking forward to see how that plays out. Where that, you know, are they trying to get back to the core Bad Batch? I don't think we know there's another season, but we also don't know that this is the last season. I don't think they would do that to us at the end and just say no more. So I don't know. Do we know?
I think Echo just wants to like help other clones away, like Rex didn't give up on him, and he, you know, saved him.
Echo has harped on about that for quite a while now, hasn't he? About doing more.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
I mean, all they have been doing so far was just like treasure hunting and working for, you know, what's her face and
Sid.
Yeah, Sid, and like he wants to make a difference.
Yeah, you're right. He wants to make a difference, and he sees that in this episode with Sip getting killed. Yeah, or Yeah, so that's what it was. That's what his motivation was.
Like Hunter just wants to find some corner of the galaxy and not be bothered anymore. He wants to actually be
I'm going to
proactive.
say, if I'm going to stick a finger out for anything that has disappointed me slightly in the Bad Batch, it is Hunter, who doesn't really seem to have. He's like the so-called leader, but without being the leader, because basically everybody else makes the decisions for him. We really need.
He's kind of checked out.
We need a Hunter-centric episode, don't we, to build his character up a little bit. He just seems to be somebody who just doesn't really. He's on the piece of paper as in charge of the Bad Batch, but in fact he's not. I don't think he's made one decision for the team for a long time now. He doesn't really seem to order anybody about. So it's a little bit disappointing. I'm just a little bit disappointed in his character. He isn't really developed, and I like to see a Hunter episode that sort of.
I mean, he lost Crosshair, and then he almost got killed, and so I think he's just kind of trying to work through some things. And, sitting on the side for a bit.
That kind of seems like the point man, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Stephen, you asked about Rampart's bill or whatever you want to say, whatever. And I'm seeming to recall the thinking about that because the cloning facilities were destroyed by the storm from Rampart's story or whatever, they needed to do the conscripts. That they couldn't, they were still vulnerable to attack. There were still insurgencies happening. The Republic needed protection, blah, 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 or the Empire, whatever, that they couldn't do clones anymore because the storm wiped out the cloning facility. So we had to create the conscripts or, had to create, that works for the public, for the in-universe public as to what's going on. It does not work for us as fans in terms of why destroy the facility to get away from clones. You had that, but for how they were explaining the proposal of the bill, it was the clone facility's gone, so let's propose a way to create our own army or have the conscripts. But then he ultimately gets called out because they have to say again.
The clones have seen too much. They keep questioning everything, and they're starting to figure out why did we do Order 66? I mean,
but they're not telling the in-universe population that aspect of it.
Right.
Well, because they're kind of keeping them away from everybody. They're all stuck on that.
That putting conscripts, like putting the human population of the Empire into it rather than the clones, kind of gives them gives the citizens of the Empire skin in the game, kind of thing.
You get some true believers in there, they'll work like 100 times better than some clones that you program,
that you program to work. So that works really to their advantage to have these people that you can turn into true believers. I mean, the clones, they're true believers, but just how far can you take that?
Yeah.
And that's Palp's ultimate, it's part of Palp's plan, because he ultimately gives the order, or somehow, not maybe directly, but he gives the order to destroy Kamino. And I remember with the destruction of the Kaminoan city, I should say not Kamino, but Tapioca or whatever it's called, Tapoca City.
Tapioca.
It's not Tapioca, but that's what I always think of. Tapoca City. I remember when this happened, that there were clones on the bridge giving orders to fire and not challenging those orders. And just remember being conflicted with watching that, because we saw Fives and we saw other clones, defend their home planet, their home. And here these clones are following orders. So there's something to ultimately Palp's pulling of the strings to say Rampart did it and he had help. He had clones that blindly followed his orders, much to what Ricky's saying, that they conspired to inflict all this damage or whatever, that we realized there's something, we got to get rid of the clones. We need to, that's how they're explaining it in the universe to some extent, of the clones, like Ricky said, has seen too much and know too much, challenging orders, inflicting all this damage on working with Rampart, this sort of thing or whatever, that we're going to get away from them and go to something else. I don't know why they would think conscripts wouldn't work, but like you say, conscripts might have a more of a belief system than programmed clones. They could be brainwashed to truly buy into it. Really powerful episodes,
so
right?
I mean, you just like on Solo, like when they're doing the recruitment stuff, like, oh, join the Empire and fight the good fight, and you'll have a life and get to see planets and do all. It's a dream they're selling to people.
Yeah, touche. A job.
Even Luke wanted to join the Empire. You
Yeah,
know,
something to
You wanna
do,
just
something
get
to
off
get
that
you off
rock.
crummy planet.
True.
So yeah,
Okay.
very, very powerful episodes for sure.
Moving on. We get to the mining double bill, which wasn't really a two-parter, but it was a continuation of the story. So, episode 9 was the crossing, episode 10 was retrieval. So in the first one, we have Sid sends the Bad Batch to extract some Ipsium mineral from a mine she recently purchased. But during the expedition, their ship is stolen. Forced to trek towards the spaceport, they are buried inside another mine when the recovered Ipsium is detonated by a lightning storm. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember that bit. Yeah, it's where they've written it. There was a storm that came on it, and then it struck the lightning, and they ended up being stuck in that due to a rockfall. But the way this is written, it doesn't quite spell that one out. Anyhow, having trouble dealing with the recent sudden turnabouts, Omega discovers an Ipsium vein, but while trying to harvest it, she and Tech get separated from the others and have a talk about adapting to changes in life before they find an alternative way out. They find the spaceport. Hey, this is really badly written on Wikipedia, so I think I need to get on here and start editing it. So they find an alternative. I remember this now. They get caught in the water, taken down to this extra cave. They find their way out through the wall using the Ipsium they just found, and then they go off to the nearest sort of settlement, which has been abandoned. But from that settlement, they managed to rig up some sort of aerial and antenna and stuff, and they managed to contact Sid, who agrees to pick them up in a couple of days. So then it takes us to episode 10, where they find out that the Marauder, their ship, is taken by a thief, actually named Binny. So anyway, the owner Moko is basically running a labour camp and all sorts, and stripping down the parts, the ship for parts to sell. They manage to track down the Marauder, and the Bad Batch infiltrate Moko's mining base and coerce the young boy into guiding them. I suppose they did. But Benny is trying to gain Moko's favour, trying to betray the Bad Batch, but just before being captured, Omega discovers that Moko has been exploiting these workers for his own profit. Who guessed? With this revelation, Benny and all the comrades turn against Moko, who falls to his death. And the Bad Batch restore the ship and leave the planet. Well, they've really simplified that episode, haven't they? I'll tell you what, that's probably the worst summary I've ever read of an episode from Wikipedia. I always feel like getting on there and typing around it. So that was it. The mining episode, down in the mine, Ipsium, things blowing up, spaceport, ship gets stolen, ships get back. Here we go. Moko is a bad. I'm not sure how Moko. Oh, Moko, there's Joyce, didn't he? Those Joyce sort of controlling things. So that was that episode.
It was 2 episodes, right?
It was 2 episodes. Lord.
Yeah. I kept calling Mako Moko, and Ricky will understand that.
I was thinking about Mocha. I was thinking about Johnny Mocha.
Michael Jackson.
Moko. Moko in Spanish. Booger.
This doesn't. None of this episode really develops the overall plot, which is what most people might be saying. Apart from we get a little bit of a reason to distrust Sid.
And then you got the stuff with Omega in the first episode that was her lamenting about Echo being gone, and
yes,
she got a little obsessive with trying to get the Ipsium and all that stuff, and yeah, it's another Sid leaving them hanging out to dry kind of thing. Because didn't they ask for help, and then she was like, no.
Yeah.
She doesn't not offer. She just says it's going to take a while, and they're like, no, we need help now.
It was almost a bit like from was it The Last Jedi or Revenge of the Sith, where they call up somebody, it's like Maz Kanata, and she's like, I'm busy at the moment fighting pirates, can't come at the moment to help you. It was a bit like that. I also get some flashbacks to the sequel trilogy there.
Yeah, the second part of this pair of episodes was very Oliver Twisty to me.
Yes.
Yeah, no, very much so. I agree that it was a modern. It was to get the modern generation of this generation their share of Oliver Twist storytelling for sure. Clearly, I mean, it was very evident that it had that as its.
But see, now they have allies there on that planet. So whatever that Ipsium is that fuel or what is that used for?
Both in it. It's quite explosive. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's another. Yeah, it's another thing, another resource. But yeah, the kid that they befriend that stole their ship or whatever, he ultimately says, "Yeah, I'm a good thief, or I'm good at it," and he says, if you ever need help or something like that. They clearly set it up that, like you said, Rick, they now have allies should they need.
Man, those kids were so hungry.
They definitely did well to showcase the Mako's gluttonous aspect.
I was going to say that was
having everything, and then the kids are off for scraps.
It was like something off a Hanna-Barbera cartoon episode, wasn't it? Him there,
a little bit, yeah.
Literally just eating one thing to the next thing. I was like, come on, nobody could do that anyway. But yeah, that's quite amusing.
It was powerful. I mean, it did have a good moment between Omega and Tech, and Tech sort of ADD,
like,
his autistic, his focus, his mind is on the information presented in front of him that is the Echo left. I know why he left. Why aren't you upset? Type of questioning, and then it's just it affects him, or it bothers him, but it affects him differently. And
he says, just because I don't show it doesn't mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to think of. Tricky. Yeah, that quote. It's definitely bothering him. He doesn't show it like others. It's not as outward as some or whatever. And that's a decent lesson in real world, that just because somebody's not necessarily outwardly showing, I'm guilty of that. Outwardly showing something or whatever of something that just changed, it doesn't mean they're not feeling it. Just everybody processes it, handles it, deals with it outwardly. It's all handled differently by everybody, but shouldn't necessarily assume that they don't. So there was a good moment between between Tech and Omega in this quote unquote filler episode. Filler from the grand overall scheme or whatever, but it does, like we said, they're going to find resources. They now have allies. We see some character growth between the characters, and we see fantastic visuals. I mean, those episodes are gorgeous. You go back and look at them. That dust cloud and animation, that dust cloud lightning storm thing that rolls up on them, and just the stuff they were, we've said that often about Bad Batch, but these episodes are, for animation, just gorgeous. Really, really well done. You have to look at them in that sense the next time you watch them.
I keep saying that about this season, that it's really, really beautifully done.
The lighting in dark areas? Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's beautifully done. Like I'll have a bit more to say about that in a minute, but I've always thought that this season looks so much better even than season 1, and season 1 was pretty great.
Yeah, it is. It is, after going, absolutely gorgeous colours and sinewy, and not to say it's not quite like Rebels, which was kind of a little bit bland in places. There was a lot going on in the background to compare to what's going on in the foreground, but this has got a lot of there's a lot of detail and everywhere.
Yeah, the art direction is superb. I don't know. I have to look closer at who's like on the production team, but yeah, the art direction is absolutely amazing.
And the storytelling's fun too, because there's a smokestack. I don't know what it was, but there was something that was popping off every 60 seconds or whatever, and it legit popped off every 60 seconds. It gave that sense of timing, and gave that sense of peril to Echo or Hunter down in there and having to deal with a droid they weren't expecting to see or whatever. That it was just neat that they went that route and truly had it be, a real-time 60 seconds, I guess. And the beauty of these episodes is we find out Gonki's got an air tag, right? Because isn't this the episode where Omega's like, wait, we can track, if he's around, we can track Gonki somehow. I don't know why Tech doesn't think of this, but obviously storytelling, next episode and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But yeah, we ultimately now know that, Gonki's a player in all this because he's got an air tag of some sort. We can track his, I don't even remember what they said, his radio signature, his power signature. They came up with something that they could track, and sure enough, jacked into the local cell tower or whatever, was out in the desert and was able to find him. However she found him and realized the ship's still on. It was, it is what it is.
Gonki kind of let the side downward. He didn't really put up much of a fight, did he?
Yeah, really. Come on, battery. You got to protect the droid ship.
He should have been devising a plan or something. Try and do something.
That gets to the that gets to the ship. Doesn't have a lock. They left it open. How does obviously a thief's going to know how to hotwire a ship to start?
They should at least have a fob, shouldn't they? They walk up and locks.
And they parked it around the corner. It's Rogue One. all
I
over
just
again where they
without
park.
the whole echo thing to click the lock.
Yeah, I was just thinking. Yeah, I mean, I did think at the time. I thought, why has nobody stolen their ship before? It's that easy, and you just got to walk in there and fly off.
But granted, he's a Oliver Twist kid, so he's a bit of a knows how to boost a ship. Let's say he's gonna have some skills. It wasn't just some random Yahoo crime of opportunity. He knew exactly what he was doing in terms of having to boost the ship. But why they parked it around the corner is on them.
And it was Wrecker. He was on lookout. And noticed nothing about.
Why you put the guy with the gimpy eye, on lookout? A bit of a...
Exactly. And around the corner, they still parked the ship around the corner. He was on lookout as well.
Right.
It's bizarre. Absolute bizarre.
How does it end? They get the ship back. They get all the parts back.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those classic A-Team things, isn't it? The ship's almost like taken apart, and then they all put it all back together again at the end, and off they go.
Yeah, there was a good scene where they're getting caught. The clones are getting caught by the Oliver Twist kids or whatever, and they're like, yeah, no, it's okay. Mako sent us or whatever. Just having their fun with getting caught and having the smarts, I guess, having the wherewithal to sort of no, don't worry about it. He sent us. We're supposed to be here. It's like anything. Act like you're supposed to be there. You can get away with a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Entertaining episodes. I've heard chatter of like, I just want the meat and potato ones. The 16 episode series. It can be pared down to 8. They're entertaining. I'm all for more Star Wars. I don't need everything to be. I like it to be. I love 16 episodes of content or mythos expanding content.
Documentaries here.
But I wouldn't want to not have this. Just because it's not necessary, or just it's not doing anything. So why do we have it? Because it's entertaining. It's fun to watch.
And kids like it too.
Yeah. The kid adults like it too.
The kidults.
The kidults. That's what it's. Kidults. Thank you.
Oh, great.
So now we get back into the meat of things, right? Because that was those two, and then the next two are kind of.
Well, we come back then. So brings us up to episode 11, which was Metamorphosis, which, as I summarised online, is somehow the Cinebeast has returned.
That's so weird. Because I tweeted like 3 weeks ago about 2 weeks before this episode aired. I'm like, whatever happened to the Zilla Beast? Did they ever explain it? Just because it was in my head, and then this episode came out, I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, so that happened.
Yes. So we get Dr. Royce Hemlock. Great name.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Fantastic. Travels to an Imperial facility on Mount Tantis to meet Nana C. Nana C? Yep. He tries to persuade her into taking part in the Emperor's cloning projects, but she refuses. Meanwhile, a covert transport bound for Mount Tantis ends up stranded, and Sid decides the Bad Batch to recover its cargo. While exploring the wreck, they discover that the cargo is an immature Zillo Beast. So they secretly cloned away from Camino to serve as a living armament resource. An Imperial strike force is sent to recover the beast and capture all nearby witnesses, forcing the Bad Batch to retreat. Shortly after, Lama Su is brought to Mount Tantis to persuade Nana C to cooperate. He divulges Amiga's assistance to Dr. Hemlock in return for his freedom. I can't believe for the life of me that he's going to get his freedom at the end of this one, but he might fall for that one. So it's the Zillo Beast episode.
I don't think we knew that, though. That was exciting.
What were they going to use the Zillo Beast for originally? It was because the armor, right?
Because armor plating on it is like weapons grade and can be used as something. I don't know. I don't remember.
When we saw that episode, or those, I think it was 2 episodes, 13 years ago. They were a long time ago. There was something to the Zillo Beast.
The filler too, Ron.
Right. The laser, wouldn't penetrate it. I forget how they ultimately tamed the beast. They found something that could.
Anakin found a way to get found a shot that got under the armor of it.
Yeah. Some other type of something or whatever. But then Palps goes to learn. We all speculated at the time, is my recollection, that they talked about how that thing can't be affected by blasters or whatever, and Palps is like, well, let's clone her to keep it, kind of thing. Was that he was going to create something, use it in some way, shape, or form,
Well,
which is weird
use
because
it for stormtrooper armor.
Yeah, which is weird because we all know the move into the future aspect, and nothing ever got that sort of capability. So that
No.
was
Throw a rock at a
strange for
stormtrooper
sure.
and it'll fall over. So, yeah.
But the young Zilla Beast, if you will, I didn't know it was the Zilla. I'm wondering if anybody recognized. I don't know why we would have. I don't think we ever saw an Immature one before.
No.
That it was just an interesting beast. Somewhere
Yeah, it had,
in
like,
watching the
4 movie
episode, somewhere in watching the episode, I did have a thought of wonder, if this is going to be related to the Zilla Beast in some fashion, or whatever. But no great revelation. It was just a speculative thing, much like Ricky's tweet of the. We've got that loose end out there.
When I saw the electricity thing and it was eating, I'm like, oh, is that Zilla Beast? Is that what they look like? That would pop up in my head.
I can't wait to see some cosplay of this. It's got to be somebody. If anybody's listening out there, I want to see somebody come to the celebrations cosplay as a Zilla Beast.
Or young, you could put your youngling in the small in the immature Zillo costume, and you could walk around in the big crazy one. I'm not much of a gamer, but I think that clone trooper that
Republic Commando.
Yeah, that we've seen.
I was going to say
something,
that was
right?
different. They're sort of like lit up, sort of upside down T-shaped thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
some Republic
was-
Commando.
I was going to say, how can you see through that? What was the idea between that? Was it a light on the front? I mean, was that like light so you can see where you go? Is that just a light to look cool, or?
Well, it's clearly just a light to look cool. What its function was, don't know. Didn't play the game, but yeah, if you could imagine wearing a helmet and having that, it's not going to be helpful. But if it's a heads-up display type of thing, or giving you atmosphere, it's a heads-up display type of thing is what it has to be of some sort. But it's much like Mando or anything with those helmets. You can't see. I don't know how you can see anything out of them. But it was cool to have that bit of a throwback or not a throwback, but a nod to that character design and a use for it, that they've canonized it, I guess. Let's say, right, the game's kind of canon, but aren't, so that they've canonized it. Have them finding this thing. Because there was one left, but then when they get on the planet where they were keeping Nala safe, there were a bunch more there, and I think there were a bunch more when they landed on the planet, right? That the villagers, they were like, how many of the villagers saw the thing or whatever? They they were going to deal with all of them to keep them quiet. Wonderfully mythos building episode again, in terms of we don't know where it's going, but to have the creepy doctor dude,
I think it was creepy.
Keeping the camp. What was his name? Hemlock.
Hemlock.
What was his first name? You said it.
Royce.
Yeah, Royce. But keeping the Kaminoan captive, and they've obviously found a way, because he knew what that thing was, so he wanted it, because they said go retrieve the asset. They sent another ship, and they had a beam that was able to neutralize it or paralyze it or put it to sleep or whatever. They shot it a couple times.
So was this one the one where he's like, do you know the Emperor's plan? And she's like, oh, I'm well aware of what he's planning on doing. Well, you think that was like pertaining to the Zilla Beast or to something else? Because I assumed Grogu, like trying to clone a Jedi. That's what he's been trying to do.
Yes, there is dialogue to that effect. And the Kaminoan
She's like, he's never going to be able to do it,
Yeah, of what his plans are or something. And she does sort of acknowledge that she was well aware of what. I take it as she's well aware of his intentions, his planned intentions. I don't take it as she's well aware of his exact specific, I'm trying to clone Jedi or people strong in the Force so I can do whatever. She's just well of his intentions to use cloning in a different purpose. As a way to maybe keep, I don't even think she might know that it was a way to keep him alive, or to clone himself, or clone for a kid, or whatever it was that becomes Rey's dad. That, spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't read that book, that I don't know that she knows the particulars, but just knows he has different plans on cloning that's not creating an army or creating a thing.
He's trying to create a loop.
Trying to create a loop, yeah. But just a fantastic episode with regards to ramifications and some story building, because this isn't right. The Zilla Beast still exists, perhaps. Could be dead in terms of timeline. We don't know how long it
Did they kill the first one?
No, they
Kept
wanted
right?
to. My recollection is they kind of wanted to destroy it, but Palp said, no, we're going to keep it. We're going to take it over here and keep it safe. And that was left. That's what left it open ended in terms of it could come back alive and destroy Coruscant. It could do something. So that Zillo Beast still exists, and this is merely a clone of it.
I thought I'd read somewhere when I was reading about reviews of this that it did die, but he took the DNA copy of it and he took DNA strands from it to make a clone of it. I'll have to have a look.
I think it died on screen. You think we saw it die in the episodes? I have to go back and watch.
Just have
I
a look.
kind of remember.
I'll read about it as you're talking. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, that episode, like they were like arguing about what to do with it. And she's like, "You can't hurt him; he's a creature." And then,
Yeah, I thought they wanted to kill it because they just keeping it reined in was going to be too problematic. But Palps ultimately, at the end, whether he says it in front of everybody or he says it to the person that would take his orders, was like, "Yeah, take that thing to my lair," or something like that.
So at the end of the Clone Wars episode, it just says the Xeno Beast, confused in pain and dying, finally succumbs to the poisons. They poison him and falls from the roof of the Senate to its death below. And then the next morning, the body of the Xeno Beast is carted away. Anakin laments that it was sacrificed for their mistakes. Palpatine promises everyone that he makes sure the sacrifice was not in vain. As he and the Jedi part ways, Palpatine gives new orders to Dr. Bol to clone the Xeno Beast.
Okay, so Zillo Beast is dead, and long live the Zillo Beast, or however that goes. And
I'm the Xeno Beast.
This is truly the only other Zillo Beast, because that original Zillo Beast did die in those episodes. Thank you, Stephen.
What did he do with the scales on the other one? Did he make a ship out of it, or
food?
He certainly didn't. No, the plating. You couldn't go. He certainly didn't put it on the Death Star. Huh?
That's good.
Well, you
didn't clone that.
Didn't need to.
Yeah, because that
Wonder if they
armor.
Wonder if they knew about its electrical consumption makes it grow. They did have it confined because they did say the ship was reinforced. That whatever was on this ship wasn't human, wasn't there's something else was going on the ship because the walls were reinforced, or they noticed it, right? So they were just transporting it.
So I wonder what went wrong for it to escape. Is something to wonder.
Right? Did it grow? Did it get out of hand, and they couldn't control it, or does the ship befall like an alien? It gets hit by an asteroid, or something happens to the ship that causes problems that then reduces power to the containment system, a Jurassic Park type of thing, and the thing gets loose and then causes all sorts of havoc. Because this is the episode we see. It starts out with the ship dead in space, and there's like a debris cloud all around it. Like something happened to the ship, not necessarily attacked, but you can tell something happened to it from the inside, that there was this debris. I did wonder how the ship though crash landed on whatever planet it crash landed on without any sort of burning up an atmosphere aspect. But that's Star Wars universe. We don't have that. Although we did have that. No, I am going to get technical because we had that. We are flying half a ship, Master. They did have the fire ships come out and try to put them out there.
That ship was already on fire when it went in atmosphere.
No, touche. But no, I think they show it. George showed it sort of burning up an atmosphere to some extent.
Yeah,
but anyway,
they the ship basically got severed. It wasn't on fire until it hit atmosphere.
Yeah. Anyway, this planet's different. Whatever needs to happen in terms of ships,
there's
and
fire in space.
Yeah, things don't burn up.
Atmosphere. This, which was tantalizing to me, being that I'm reading the Zahn series right now, and Mount Tantus plays a very big role in the whole cloning thing in Heir to the Empire and all of that. So that was one of the things that really caught my attention when they said Mount Tantus. I was like, did they say that?
I'm under the impression that is a big deal, that they canonized Mount Tantus. It's going to have different dealings or whatever, but they have canonized something that was out there. So interesting. That was in the original Zahn novels.
Yeah, I believe the planet it was on was originally called Wayland, and this one is now just called Tantus. But anyway, that was one of those things that I was like, hey, I'm reading the Zahn novels.
It's called Wayland?
Like that
makes
aliens. Yeah, that's aliens. That's the company.
Is Tantus also where we had our first run-in
Season 1? Yeah.
with where they captured Hunter or whatever. They left Hunter, and there was another clone there.
It was Cody, wasn't it?
Was it Cody
No,
that
not
was
Cody.
training stormtroopers?
No,
Was that? Is
somebody
this
was
also-
training? Yeah, that's the
Is
same
that-
place. Yeah,
Same place. Okay, cool.
it was like the finale they showed it or something.
Yeah.
Right? It was like a big mountain.
Yeah. It was a brief
Yeah.
introduction to it, but we were there.
And like I said earlier, the artwork for, especially for like where the planet is, the Tantus is, was stunning. Again, I get it was like the first episode of the season where I got like Miyazaki vibes off the artwork for some reason.
Oh, when they were like on the beach and stuff.
Yeah, when they were on the beach and stuff. But this one, when they show Mount Tantus, I was like, how that looks like something out of a Miyazaki film. Again, it was just one of those things.
Does that thing look different to you? Just thinking of the episode as the things eating the electricity, growing and changing, whatever. It was a very dark episode too. I always worry about people that go on and on about Solo being dark, whatever. That was
Yeah, I kept seeing that
It's very
for like
Solo
dark
is
Solo, and if you have your
Yeah.
if you have your TV
Part of the-
dialed in, it's gorgeous. You know, it's not.
yeah, I didn't notice any darkness or anything.
It was dark in other ways because we got those citizens of that planet all carted away at the end, probably never to be seen again.
I
So-
did find it interesting. The villagers, the citizens. That is not a very, or what do I want to say? That is a very diverse planet. Because if you go back and look at that, it's every alien character design they've ever created in the Bad Batch. There were all types there. That it's a planet full of refugees or people trying to escape oppression or just escape anything. It is not a Zygerian planet or something like that where it's all the same species. There were all kinds of people in that crowd, village crowd, where they're taking them away.
I'm not sure what they're thinking, what they're worried about the villagers knowing. All they've seen is this great big beast, and the Empire come and sort of capture it and
Take
rescue
it away, yeah.
Maybe there's not really that many of those Zillo beasts around or something, and people are like, wait, where did this come from?
Yeah, that's what it's going to be, right? That you don't want. They think they killed the one, don't know of any other, and don't want it out there that another one exists or another one has been seen.
Well, I don't know. I know what the chances are low, I would think, of leaving the villagers there, of anything bad coming of it. But I suppose they're not going to take any chances, are they?
No.
Just take them away, off to make parts for the Death Star.
Yeah, because use them in that. It's easier to do that and then have it get out for sure. A small little uninhabited planet with just the one village. Was kind of neat seeing once the Zillo Beast got full size. I think we already knew it was the Zillo Beast because Hunter or Tech or somebody said. I think Tech says to Hunter, "This is the thing that attacked Coruscant in the war years ago." So those of us that watch it knew exactly what the heck it was. But when the Zillo Beast hits the power coupling of the village or whatever the heck, and finally grows to full size or let's say more recognizable size, and they show it. I guess the guys were attacking it, or whatever, but there was a silhouette version of the full-size Zillo Beast, and it was just cool to see that. That was confirmation that we were getting the full-on Zillo Beast back in action, albeit brief as it was this one episode. But still cool that they tied up that loose thread, or they at least pulled that loose thread a little bit. They didn't tie it up, but they pulled on it a little bit to show it.
Nothing's ever abandoned. So.
Touche, yeah.
Yeah, just left for a minute or two, and then they touch back on it.
Yeah, now they're not known. The Bad Batch were getting attacked by, so I don't think they knew who they were attacking. They just knew there was a ship there that they were trying to destroy. They got away.
Mm-hmm.
But no. So I'm conflating the two things. So yeah, there was a ship that got away that they want to tie up that loose end. But then the mean doctor Royce Hemlock, finds out about the clone girl from the other Kamino, and then he had brought on planet or whatever. So to me, there's ultimately where this season's going to go or can go, whatever. They're now going to get hunted because Hemlock wants this clone girl. He needs that leverage. He's going to be very interested. And actually, I don't think Hemlock knows it was a clone. He just knows it was a young girl that could be used as leverage. Right, he doesn't know. I don't think he knows she's a clone yet. But once he finds out, he's really going to be intrigued by her, and the Bad Batch ultimately. Right, if he finds out that this is Clone Force 99 with all these special powers, and he's some sort of cloning doctor, trying to learn or whatever, he's going to be really intrigued to send out all the resources to capture the Bad Batch. And that might be where Echo, I'm going to speculate, that's going to be where Echo and Rex come into play to save him or something at the end. Give us a season 3. I'm all for it. Let's go. How did this one
And then
end?
have Dr. Pershing show up on there. Get a little backstory.
Yes. Right. Well, we've got one more.
One more.
So to go, one more to go. Well, we've got actually we've got 4 more to go in the series, but we've got one more to discuss here, which was episode 12, The Outpost. So it's another Crosshair one, and Crosshair is assigned to Lieutenant Nolan, no relation to Nolan's sisters, and travels to a remote Imperial outpost on Barton 4 under the command of a clone named Mayday. I wonder where he got his name from. That'd be the outpost is attacked, and 2 cargo crates containing classified cargo are stolen. Nolan orders Crosshair and Mayday to recover the cargo. The 2 clones eliminate the thieves and find the cargo, which is stormtrooper armor. But an avalanche fatally injures Mayday and buries the cargo. Crosshair carries Mayday back to the outpost, but Nolan chastises them for their failure and refuses to provide a medic for Mayday, who succumbs to his injuries, but mere seconds later. Fed up with Nolan's arrogance and disrespect of clones, Crosshair kills Nolan before losing consciousness. Later, he wakes up in an Imperial operating chamber, where Amiri Kar orders him to cooperate with her if he wants to survive. Dum dum dum. So I wonder where Mayday. I wonder that's why Mayday is actually assigned to this remote Imperial outpost. Because if he got that nickname Mayday from where it seems like he got it from, that's probably why he's all the way out there.
Didn't we have another one that was like, it wasn't Roger, it was Wilco.
Wilco,
we've had a couple of clones that have been weird, though, what do you want to say, those military term type names or whatever. That now we got we had Wilco, Mayday. Just got to come up with some sort of name.
Sergeant Bilko.
the mean jerk Imperial. Of course, they're all mean jerk Imperials. They're Imperials by nature. It's redundant. But anyway, yeah. Have we seen that character design before? Have we seen that alien? Is that an alien in the Empire? What? Or is that just a weird looking human?
It's a human. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it just got that obnoxious look.
Just got a look to him.
He's got a pugnacious kind of like Nazi face.
Yeah, and he wears the helmet all day. Probably wears it to bed as well.
There's a line in here where the clones are like, well, we're soldiers, not retirees or whatever, and the Imperial person's just like, that placating, I don't care tone and voice. It's like, please direct all questions and concerns to the Imperial Information Bureau or something like that. Or just it was a telling way of how they just have such disdain for the clones. They have no interest in trying to help them or work with them to see them. They're just a nuisance to some Imperials.
Yeah,
they see them like as subhumans.
Mine's like when you reach a number that's been disconnected or out of service.
Yes.
It sounded very mechanical.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was very mechanical.
Great episode.
I did like that Mayday guy though.
But they started out on somewhere it looked familiar with all the clones, like where they attacked Ahsoka with all the stun bolts. I just wonder where they were with all the clones, whatever they left from, whatever outpost they left from, where the dude's like, you're out of uniform. I'm like, well, he's out of uniform. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, he didn't have his helmet on. Had to make him put his helmet on. I mean, what a jerk face. Waiting for Crosshair to cut him to the quick a little sooner than he did.
Yeah.
Why were the raiders? I mean, they don't know what they're stealing. They're just seeing an outpost, attacking it, and while you're there, you're going to raid and steal crates of whatever's there because it's obviously important because they're protecting it. But once you open up one of those crates and go, what is this? Well, armor. Why would they continue to attack or steal crates? You're hoping you get a different outcome, I guess. Finding something, I just didn't quite understand why the raiders were stealing crates of stormtrooper armor, but then I kind of went to maybe they don't realize what they're stealing at first, but eventually they'd be just like, oh, okay, That's no
I was
fun. That's not-
expecting a bit more of a twist there. That maybe the Raiders were actually former clones or something like that. But
Yeah, I went that way too, Stephen.
almost happened. And he goes, "Oh, they're even wearing clone armor and that kind of stuff."
I almost went there too. That yeah, maybe they were attacking their own or something. Didn't realize it at first, or didn't realize it at all, because they knew what was in there. But yeah, they were a new design too, right? They weren't even Niktos or anything like that. They were just a new batch of humanoid creatures that can live on an ice planet.
They can always like try to sell it off, I guess, for food.
Yeah, you need whatever it is, it's valuable to somebody.
Or less armor that their opponents have, then the more vulnerable they are,
And now they're just picking all those crates off and going off with them. Like why not they just say, "Don't bother going after those thieves because we're just about to take everything and go now, thanks." But no, he sends them off after them.
Well, he was just trying to get rid of them the whole time.
Well, I think he was, because he didn't even send anybody out to. I know the Empire.
They all send them on this goose chase, and if they die in the cold.
Yeah, the Empire are quite cruel, but I think even they might have sent out some backup or somebody to go and check for them. But it didn't even bother any of that. But it was great for. I mean, the two Crosshair centric episodes we've had this season have been brilliant, and it's just you kind of think you don't know why you would really care about Crosshair. Because it's really hasn't got seemed like he's got a lot going for him, but in this one really played on the emotions. I started feel sorry.
He's gonna snap the whole time.
You kind of wonder, are we going to get to the point where he obviously at some point is going to, if he hasn't already, is near the line of turning against his Imperial overlords, and he's probably going to help the Bad Batch at some point. But is he going to end up back in the Bad Batch team? I don't know. That would be quite a surprise if it did happen.
Say again, Marie?
I said I think that's what we're looking at actually.
Yeah, that transition or that progression to that point.
Yeah, maybe he's either going to take the place of Echo or they're uniting, they're getting the band back together.
Yeah. I took it that way, that you got rid of Echo and you're eventually going to bring Crosshair back into the fold, that you're going to have the Bad Batch, because that's ultimately the show is about the Bad Batch, and you're going to have the Bad Batch doing something or having to do something, because there's that line in there. The guy asked him, he was like, do you know him well? He's like, I know him for about 2 hours. He's like, yeah, but that was about 2 hours too long. It was a very quick, you have this episode, but a very great way to quickly show disdain that Crosshair has for this guy. And so that it gets to that point where he ultimately does at the end of the episode of realizing, all right, this jerkface has got to go, and takes him out.
I could see Crosshair hooking up with Echo and Rex and doing some kind of like clone liberation thing, Maybe they're.
Crosshair doesn't care about the clones. Why would he be one? Well, maybe now, maybe in this turn.
He doesn't like the stormtroopers.
Yeah, maybe in this turn of events, we're seeing some character progression to where he would be willing to join up with them or see. Because good soldiers follow orders no longer his thing when that guy has jerky orders that have no disdain for your life or your. What was what was his name? Wilco. Having no concern for, I just brought him back, carried him back here. What was the line? That's what it was. He steps on a mine they see somebody. It's like, oh, they didn't even bother to carry him. He's like, oh, why carry dead weight? And he's like, oh, remind me not to die on your watch.
Die on your watch.
And then ultimately, Crosshair does carry him back and does carry the dead weight to some extent, whatever. Yeah, it's good. Great Crosshair character story building, growth episode to see him. I think this is the episode. There's been a number of episodes, or maybe it's Mando that I'm getting ahead of myself. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I think this younger generation of creatives, you guys are, some of you are young, some of you are old enough. Is the game Flashlight Tag a thing for anyone? Did anyone play Flashlight Tag as a kid? Flashlight Tag is played at the dark. The person that's has a flashlight, and they're going around trying to find you. You're playing hide and seek in the dark, but if the person spots you with a flashlight, you're technically found. The problem with Flashlight Tag is for the people that didn't know how to play it properly or whatever. If you walk around with the flashlight on at night, it's easy to avoid the it person because you can see them walking around with a flashlight yards away because they have a flashlight and you don't in the dark. So you just make sure you see them walking in that direction. You just make sure you stay out of their line of sight or whatever. It's very easy to avoid that person. And
Ron, on Battlefront 2, they have the Ewok hunt, and you can be a trooper, and you can have your flashlight on your gun, and yeah, it totally makes you an open target.
yeah, so we see that in. I'm thinking it's a Bad Batch, but now I'm thinking it's Mando, where they're constantly walking around with this flashlight on in the dark, going, "Well, that's idiotic because you're a target," as you say. See, I don't think the younger creatives ever played flashlight tag to realize that is not a good way to hunt in the dark cave, is turning your flashlight on.
Do that. I think they did that on the Zilla Beast episode when they were
They have
going around the ship.
Have a head? Don't they have an infrared type of heads-up sensor or something they could use? Anyway, this is getting off on a tangent on flashlight tag.
Well, you've got to be able to see where you're going, though. So,
You don't want to step on a mine.
Yeah.
You think they might have turn on night vision or something like that, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah, that's what I think. Were we seeing the evolution of? Does not Waco? What was it? Wilco. Is Wilco going to become Dengar? Didn't Wilco have like a Dengar bandage thing going on around his helmet? Maybe it was helping to keep him warm, but he had some sort of something made me think he was going to be. He was very Dengar-ish in terms of bandages wrapped around his helmet when he had perfectly good. Now, obviously, you don't want to use your brother's helmet. That's a bit morbid, but he had a collection of dead comrades' helmets in the area they were hanging out in. And he had this, or maybe his wasn't busted. They did mention that they didn't protect against the cold, so that's why they were wrapping them up. Wrapping them up to stay warm.
We've seen a couple times where we had Dengar-esque crosshair.
Oh yeah, that's right. Crosshair was bandaged up.
That's right.
So how's this one?
Wait, but what happened with him? What happened at the end with Crosshair? I forget.
Well, he's tied up to this bed or something, isn't he? And being.
Oh, that's right. I was gonna say he just collapses in the troopers, but no, he's tied up and he's in front of a clone doctor type or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how it.
So I don't know whether she's. I know she says if you cooperate, you might survive. Well, I'm not sure whether that's what they're gonna. I mean, we could just kill him. I mean, he's going to become a bit nuisance. Why not just get rid of him? But obviously, that isn't.
He's got some clone he's got some clone information they want to extract or learn about or whatever. So yeah, they're going to do experiments on him or something.
Well, now they know Bad Batch is running around with Omega, so maybe they're
right. They're ultimately bringing it to a nice culmination point at the end of the season. That information's out there, Omega's out there, Bad Batch is out there. They just captured this. Component of the Bad Batch, this clone with special powers, and the clone's doctors are going to be very intrigued to learn about him. This had some interesting. This is Filoni-esque that it had and I only remember it because I watched the episode with the captions on, and it said "ice vulture screeching." That I remember seeing a scene where the birds flying over. I think it's when.
Yep.
Crosshair brings them back and they're on the tarmac or whatever and sort of collapse and the birds flying overhead. And I think it's, it's like a foreshadowing aspect of the vultures circling. It's not quite dead yet. It's waiting for the clones to die. It's waiting for the clones to extinguish and perish, if you will, whatever, and move on to stormtroopers type of thing, whatever. That is a very powerful sort of visual. Yeah, those two guys are being circled. They're not the last of their kind, but they are very much a dying breed, and the vultures just waiting to pick at their carcasses. Is a powerful for somebody that's committed to putting in the time in and watching the Clone Wars and seeing the clones go is going to be it's just going to be powerful to watch because
they're going to get Order 66 themselves.
Yeah, right. There's going to be, or they're just. I don't even think they're going to get that. They're going to get. They're just going to just fade. They're not even going to get the. I don't want to say nobility of an Order 66, but you know what I mean. They're not going to get some sort of. It's just going to slowly. Yeah. They're just what was a great contribution to the Republic and to everything, and should be heralded as such, and deserve much better, is just going to fade. It's just going to go out.
I just want to know how they got to the point in Rebels where they're on that planet fishing on that old ship. You know, like, why did they get to be left alone? You know, or maybe Rex cut some kind of deal, or, you know, there has to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because Rex is currently still in the fight.
Yeah.
What's going to get him to a point where he's just like, nope, let's call it. I'm done fighting. I want to retire and get away from all of this. He's going to see something.
Out to pasture and stuff.
Yeah. So let's go out, and although he gets sucked back in at that point. Anyway, that's why we watch.
Just when he thought he was out, they pulled him.
Right. They pull you back in. That's why we watch. That's why we're intrigued by this story. That's why I've said this before. That's why I think I find Bad Batch more compelling and fun to watch from a storytelling standpoint than Mando. That this Bad Batch has ramifications and has ultimately is contributing to the overall mythos of Star Wars and the storytelling that we know and love from the movies. We want to know, you fought in the Clone Wars with my father. We want to know how we get from clones to Stormtrooper. Whereas Mando is just extending the story, but it's not. It might have the potential to contribute eventually, but I think Mando's a bit more of Favreau playing with the toys within his toy box, whereas Bad Batch is got a story to tell.
We know in this, we know where it goes. We don't know where it goes in Mando yet, to a certain extent. You know?
Well, and I guess that's what it is, because Mando has no constraints. Right, exactly. Mando has no constraints, so they can go off on all these kind of weird, crazy, and tell stories that. And maybe that's why I have a problem with Mando, because they can just go off in that direction and it doesn't matter. Whereas Bad Batch has a box that it's constrained by. The creatives have to work within that. So their storytelling has to be nuanced. Their storytelling has to be compelling and has to be well thought out. That's my problem with Mando sometimes, is they just like, they can just it's Favreau playing with his toys and his toys back. He can just tell this story and then move on to the next and move on to the next. He's not constrained. He's not reined in at all.
It's two different storytelling aspects. It's like the whole when we saw episode 3 and stuff, we knew what was going to happen, but we just wanted to see the how. You know
how. Oh yeah.
So it's like we got Tarantino. We know the ending, but we're just trying to see how we got there. So. It was funny, like that. I was watching Mando, and then this episode of Bad Batch came on. I'm like, how is this darker than the show we just watched? Like, it's more serious, and like, you know, the cartoon is more dark and serious.
Yeah, I would love to be a fly on the table or to hear some recap of the conversations that went around at Disney headquarters, Lucasfilm headquarters, with regards to having the two shows on at the same time. They clearly knew what they were doing in terms of dropping Mando. And at the same time, they dropped a very powerful Bad Batch episode. They clearly didn't drop Mando and a filler episode of Bad Batch. They knew what they were doing there. They knew that Bad Batch is going to be ramping up in its last couple of episodes, whatever. So it'd be very interesting to hear the machinations of how they got to this point of, no, we can have them overlap because they're going to be loosely tied, or because they're going to be both very powerful and dark, or versus no, we want this one to end.
But you're only getting a percentage of the viewers actually enjoying both shows, because most people are just watching Mando.
I think if I was in charge of the Star Wars content, I'd probably be a bit meaner. I'd probably have them playing at different times to each other. So you finish Bad Batch, then we start showing Mando.
You guys know, like in all the groups and online, the people you talk to, there's Star Wars fans like us that are hardcore. They're like, I don't watch cartoons, I just watch the movies. So
Ryan contributes to that mindset to something that he didn't partake in the Clone Wars when it dropped, and has since and has enjoyed it, and has seen that that most people discounted them because they were cartoons, because they were animated. They thought they were the Resistance or whatever, and they weren't. They were very compelling storytelling, and they just chose to lose sight of that, or not even look at that and contemplate that as being, wait, no, these have gripping, powerful stories to be told. They're just in an animated form, and a decent animated form. I don't watch Bad Batch and think, "Oh, this is animated." at all. It's so well done. We've already talked about it. The
It
lighting,
looks
the
like
3D.
it's a movie.
It's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Resistance obviously was that 2D anime or whatever it was that Cell, and it's a different level of animation that is a little bit cartoony-ish, but still the story is the story and how it's visually displayed.
I think at some point we need to do a Resistance episode when things quiet down. Or we ever have a dry spell? I don't know. We will.
Yeah, it's gonna be
we could
few and
have
far between.
Yeah, we're gonna have a pod just concentrating.
We
on
were going to
Resistance.
watch the first episodes. Do you remember? That we were toying with the commentary.
I mean, there's not. I mean,
I loved Resistance. I thought Resistance would have been great. It needed another season.
If I had to rank the animations, yes, it probably would be down the bottom. But it doesn't mean it wasn't good. It just means that it's just in that order. And Resistance.
So if you're going to rank Star Wars, something then has to be at the left.
Yes,
Something has to be at the bottom. That doesn't mean it's bad at all.
No, that's it.
It's just funny because last night I was talking with my brother and we were talking about Mando, and like I was explaining basically everything from the Clone Wars to him because he's never seen it. Because most people that I talk to, like, they will only watch the shows and the movies. They've never watched animated stuff because they have that preconceived notion. Oh, it's a kids thing. It's it's animated.
It's like
I was going through the whole Maul had the dark saber and all this and that. He's like, oh wow, I didn't know that. I'm like, well, yeah. So it's like
first couple of seasons of Clone Wars are a little bit cartoony, but they started introducing some pretty adult things pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that where we get the HSOEF hashtag, Stephen? It's from the Clone Wars, right?
HSOEF. We haven't used that for a while. It hasn't been.
There's not much to it.
There's been a lot.
Bad Batch might have that coming up as we get some more, but
the Mando one might do.
That holy s, everything's on fire hashtag was the Clone War, that it had a slow burn and became a holy. Rebels was very much the same thing. He's stealing fruit at the beginning of it, and then holy crap, everything's on fire. There's Mandos flying around, and it got crazy. So you have to let these things burn. You have to let them marinate and get to that point where it can set everything on fire, because that's when it's good. That's when you go, wow, this, I'm so glad I watched all of the Clone Wars to get all of those various little bits and pieces. Bad Batch is going to be the same way. That I'm so glad, we partook in all of this to see this story, because it's got ramification. It's got good storytelling. It's contributing to that Star Wars story that we all know and love. I find it odd that when I finish watching Bad Batch, because I watched Bad Batch before Mando on drop night, and Bad Batch doesn't say, I've got something for you to watch, and it's called the new episode of Mando. It kicks you to Andor. And I think Mando does the same thing, that if you watch Mando first, it doesn't, you know what I mean? At the end of the thing, when it's trying to suggest what to watch next, it should suggest the new Bad Batch. Batch should suggest the new Mando, but it doesn't. Right. I don't understand why. What
also annoys me on D+, I don't know what it's like for you guys. You watch it on the TV stuff. As soon as you're halfway through the credits, they just go small screen.
Yeah.
And you've got no chance of seeing anything that's on those credits. Not that you even wanted it to, but you feel sorry for those people who are on those credits. You stand no chance of seeing them because you can't do anything to make that screen bigger again.
Yeah, there should be.
And then when the Marvel shows had stingers at the end, and so as soon as the credits get, it stops. I'm like, well, I want to watch it to the end because I know there's going to be something on there. So I always have to fidget with it and put the screen.
Yeah, there should be a checkbox setting or something that is I want to watch the credits. I want to see the full credits. They're so geared towards stream or
or you press the play button. It just makes that go back to full screen again.
Yeah,
I just think it's funny with Bad Batch and watch it says skip intro. I'm like, it's like half a second.
Yeah, I have that same sort of thought, Ricky. I'm like, this is one of the things where it doesn't really need that skip intro because there is none. Literally,
someone's got to do that, haven't they? Someone's got to do that. It's like I did skip the intro. So I skip the intro sometimes for Andor because that it's like 30 seconds.
Andor does have a slow burn
for no reason.
Did Andor ever get the HSEOF hashtag? I guess it did for the last episode.
I don't think it's only season 1, so you can't. Nothing's on fire in season 1 on any of these things, so the fire can't start.
No, it's got to be something completely unexpected from the left field. So like when we got Luke appear in Mando last time round, that was a HSO. I mean, it's got to be exceptional, not just be. it's not good enough to be a really good episode. It's got to be something that you never saw coming, and what actually comes is like a juggernaut.
Yeah,
I don't literally mean a juggernaut, but yeah.
No, it's that holy, this is more than poison Snapple or stealing fruit or whatever. Things are on fire. Things are going crazy. The story's getting, the story's getting good. This is the point of that sort of rant and that hashtag that I love so much, because people discount things so
just
easily, so quick.
That with Bad Batch, like this was the episode, the Bad Batch episode originally of Clone Wars wasn't even aired. Like they didn't even finish it. Now we have a whole second season of the show. So like that's just I still appreciate them going back and taking these characters that weren't even canon at one point. And
I still wish they would complete those other episodes. But
the Utapau one was good.
Yeah, is everybody what order is everybody watching these in? Now we've got a choice of two things to watch each Wednesday.
Well, I watch Mando first.
I watch Mando first, purely because if I'm going to be spoiled, Mando is going to be the first one spoiled. Nobody's going to. It's not going to be as easy to find out to come across Bad Batch spoilers.
Murray, you're the tiebreaker, because I've already said my piece that I watch Bad Batch first.
I watched Mando first.
Ah, curses! I'm the outlier.
Sorry, Ron.
I was going to say, in theory, time straits. You've got a quick half hour. You can watch Bad Batch. You need a bit more for Mando.
I see. I don't get that. You're a Star Wars fan. How are you not sitting down and committing to consuming both?
I don't watch one after the other. I don't watch them one after the other. I tend to watch Mando the Wednesday, then Bad Batch on the Thursday.
My Wednesday night is so beautifully, wonderfully. Again, growing up with not having content, man, the opportunity, it kills me to have to wait till Wednesday, or Wednesday night. But I am not I have to, it does make a challenge for Wednesday, like you say, to not be spoiled, to stay off the internet and all that sort of stuff, whatever. But I am not watching it on my phone or a tablet or computer at work or something like that, just to have it. Because again, it speaks to no, I am your father type of thing. You only get one opportunity to see this show for the first time. So that Luke reveal, I didn't want that to be on my tablet while I'm driving to work or something, because I don't want to be spoiled. That is a sit down and soak in that first time. The second time, sure, I'll watch that on a tablet or whatever. But that first time,
Wednesdays have been like make something special for dinner. We wear our Star Wars shirts and we sit down and let's all watch
Ricky knows. Yeah, Ricky knows.
Because the thing is with the social media as it is now, that even if the reason why I watched Mando first, I don't watch it until dinner time in the evening anyway. I could watch it earlier on. It's so easy to be spoiled from it, not just in ways that you're not expecting. Like you go on YouTube, I think I just watched them on YouTube, and then you've got the the recommendations on the right hand side. But some will come up, some will come up with recommendations of the spoilers or what happened in this episode. And same in Twitter. You go on Twitter to see the latest news, sports news.
People just,
and down the side, you've got the hashtags. You've got the hashtags for what's trending, and it knows what you want to see trending. It's got things like hashtag hand dies sort of thing.
Yeah, hashtag.
Yeah, I'm only an hour chat on Wednesdays, because if anywhere else I go, it's gonna, if even Facebook, even like IGN and stuff like that, they'll put spoilers like
Or they say it'll be something like, finally, this really gets on my nerves. The clickbait crap you get now is, finally Star Wars resolves the Sinnoh story or something like that. What? What's that all about? What is he talking about? There'll be something that they give a clue to in the title, even though they're trying not to, because anything in the title that makes you think is enough to be a spoiler, really, even if they don't spell it out.
Well, to that note, spoiler alert, you might want to play the spoiler alert. All of this doesn't go until it happens or whatever. And spoiler alert, with regards to next week's Mando episode, I have seen something, not so much content, but I don't know if anybody wants to close their ears off or something, but that episode length, it's a long one.
Oh, because somebody said that in the chat, this one was going to be a long one. It wasn't.
So
the last one, he goes, I actually got the length right. Actually, my prediction was actually the length of the episode, but I didn't claim any credit for it. But somebody else said, I heard online it says that it's going to be 52 minutes and 16 seconds. That it wasn't. But they might be talking about the next one. But I will say
that's going to be Boba Fett walking around doing something.
in 2 weeks' time, it's a Dave Filoni episode, so I imagine that's going to be a Luke or Ahsoka in it. one. So
How many Mando episodes did we get? Is it 8?
not enough.
15? No.
I've closed the window now.
Usually 10,
I'll tell
right?
you.
Is it usually 10?
8 or
Okay.
10, I think.
And then Bad Batch is 16. Bad Batch ends, and then we get a couple more we get more Mandos. They don't both end at the same time, is what I'm going for there. I don't think.
Well, not to jump ahead, but what's after Mando? Like,
you said not to jump ahead, so
Yeah.
we're not jump. We have enough. I remember the days when we were clamoring for, that's how we ended up with the. What have you been doing?
Now
with
I'm
Star
like, well,
Wars
when
for
this
the
ends,
past
what else
month?
starts?
Now we don't need that segment because we have
Well,
so
yes,
much
yeah,
Star
but-
Wars
but-
content
but-
in the Senate session.
Yeah, the main thing was in this week's episode we'll be talking about how Death Star's laser beam works and how lightsabers don't have a safety switch or something like that. That was a conversation for the
days of do lightsabers have batteries?
Yeah,
they do.
We had some fantastic Senate sessions back in the day when there wasn't content. It wasn't necessarily.
One day there will
new
be
content.
It'll happen again. We will have to.
Well,
Really,
they're firing Kathleen Kennedy, and then they're shutting down all the movies now and cutting the budget.
Well, the brief Star Wars or the brief news segment is the celebration starts up in a week or two. So
Easter weekend, you said, didn't you? Easter weekend.
Is it a month from now, or is it sooner than that? I don't even know.
We'll have that. It's either next weekend or 2 weekends, but we'll have that to discuss as well the next session.
Yes, we'll know a bit more
Mando and the Band Batch. So yeah, we're gonna.
The Bad Batch would have finished by then, so maybe they might squeeze in some season 3 news into the celebrations.
They don't have much to go on, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of news does get dropped. So anyway,
a full Ahsoka trailer, something like that,
That's new. Yeah, there'll be some Ahsoka stuff to say. They got to do something to. They don't have
Skeleton Crew teaser.
Oh yeah.
They have the opportunity to make the celebration be something kick-ass. In terms of dropping stuff that none of us are expecting because we're not really expecting.
Movie.
Suspect maybe movie news, right?
Yeah, so it's April 7th through 10th. So.
Oh right.
How much, or how long has it been since we've had a movie in the theaters? What?
2019.
2019. 19.
It's been 4 years now.
Star Wars has been out of the theaters for 4 years, and I say that like I'm incredulous to it.
I know
it was every 3. We had, so it's not that incredulous, but we thought we were going to get it. So I suspect Celebration drops news of a movie. That's the big thing.
A movie that's actually going to happen.
There's 4 episodes of each show before Celebration.
All right, so we got to keep our Senate sessions schedule going. Well, this one's been fantastic as always.
Yes, it's nice to. We didn't get to Mando. It's nice to we had one topic and we have one topic to delve into.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it's nice to not have Ryan here.
We have to try and rush. Yeah.
No,
it's
not what he was saying.
No, we missed Ryan's 10,000 notes he's written about every episode.
We miss all the senators. There's been a number of them.
Yes, there has. Yes. Everybody has something to contribute, but hopefully we get. So yeah, thank you very much for having a good Bad Batch chit chat, and thank you. Yes, speak to you again. See everybody again. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to join us on the various social media stuff.
And join the Facebook group.
Yeah, please talk to us. Talk to us. We're lonely. We're lonely.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Guys, later.
Go switch off. I am the Senate.
Be sure to follow us online. We're at Facebook at PSW Senate. Join our PSW Star Wars Facebook group where we all are in there interacting. You can find us on Twitter at PSW Senate. On Instagram, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. And on TikTok, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.
The Force will be with you, always.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can't hear a thing at the moment. My volume working?
Hello?
Hello.
Is it just been me so far? Oh no, you, me, and Ron. Hi, Ron.
One's lurking.
Oh. Oh, hi, lurking Ron.
Hello and good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Afternoon.
Oh, that's right. It's afternoon for you. All very well and good.
I'll just go get a cuppa. Try and find some chocolate. I didn't find any chocolate. I managed to find some biscuits. Not quite the same thing.
I thought I heard you crinkle a bag of crisps.
It's not crisps. It's
You're right, they're chips.
Mini, well, the biscuits. Mini cinnamon speculatus.
Ooh, cinnamon.
I've got a lot of things. I've got a great big tub of stuff I was given for Christmas. No, I didn't give the tub. I was given loads of stuff for Christmas, cakes and biscuits and chocolate and stuff. And I just bang everything in that tub, and each week I stick my hand in the tub and bring someone else out to chew through. So today I've got. So they're pretty much Christmas stuff, but I've still got I've got a chocolate Father Christmas in there. I've got 2 little mini Christmas cakes to eat. So it's a bit strange getting stuff out in March, April or May or something that's got Christmas stuff all over it. But I mean, God, 20 years ago I would just scoffed everything in 2 weeks. But now I still scoff it all. I just scoff it over a longer period, so I don't feel so bad for eating it all.
Yeah. Now it doesn't just now it just hangs around. It doesn't. You don't
That's
work.
right. Yes. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, as most of us done, I would have bought whatever size the chocolate bar was or the tub of chocolates. I would have been minded to just keep eating them until I'd was feeling sick. But now I sort of I take 3 or 4 chocolates out of a box or something. I say that's enough for a couple of hours. And just eat them a bit.
Yeah, everything in moderation now, huh?
Yes, well, except for I buy a packet of Haribo's now every week. I eat that. I try to eat them during the evening because you're gone. Do you have Haribo's over there?
We do, like gummy bears, gummy worms.
Well, Haribo's, yeah, they can be. We're just talking about Haribo's, Marie. Traditionally they were little teddy bear things, but they're sort of anything now. They're sort of like Cola bottles, big bottles, snakes, and they could be fizzy. They could be sugary, fizzy ones, or different flavors. You get bubblegum flavored packets. I mean, they're for kids, but they sort of advertise them in. The advert for them is like adults eating kids stuff. So and I buy them and I eat them during the evening because I don't eat everything in the whole packet, but I chop them during the evening to satisfy my crunch for substance. And but they're not fatty. I mean, they are full of sugar, but they're not fatty. And I've read around you shouldn't eat anything heavy or fatty in the evenings because then you go straight to bed and the fat goes nowhere. So I try to eat stuff that is light and non-cakes, non-chocolates in the evening. So sweets don't have the fat that other stuff does.
So instead of going to carrots and celery, you go to Haribo gummy bears.
I'm at Haribo. I need to go shop and get some more this week. So I had to have a banana yesterday evening. It was not quite the same thing, is it? When you sat down watching TV and you got to get a banana out to enjoy it with. It was a massive banana.
At least the banana's hella more podcast friendly and quieter when you peel it. So get them all out of the package now and put them on a plate or something so we don't hear you crinkling all show.
Yeah, I'll take some out now. I don't know what they're growing with the bananas in these days, but the bananas we had the last couple of weeks delivered to us are absolutely massive. They're like the size of an old mobile phone. Massive. Right. So
hey, I have a housekeeping question. How far back into the Bad Batch do we need to go? The last
that's
Senate.
actually what I was looking at. Yeah.
Didn't we do the faster? Didn't we do the pod racing one? Was that the last one?
We definitely
we did Entombed too.
You did the pod racing, and we definitely did that one with the Berserk.
The Mecha Blizzard thing. Did we do the one with Gunji, the Chewbacca?
We did, but we sort of didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we definitely did that one.
Okay, so we got the Clone Conspiracy.
So February 8th was the Clone Conspiracy. We would have had them both in the same week. But I don't remember talking about it, but we might have. When did we do the last one? Let me have a look here. We'll go back in time in the chat. February the 5th. Did it the 5th of February. So we did it before that one. So we have actually got the Clone Conspiracy ones to talk about. I'm trying to remember what happened in that one, isn't it?
That was Tucci and the retirement of clones and something.
Oh yeah, that was quite a good one though, was it? Because it's kind of like Palpatine played them for the.
I thought we talked about that one.
He was 100 miles ahead of them all, wasn't he?
Ricky, Stephen just looked at the date of our last Senate, and the date was before
that one aired.
Before that one aired, so if he did his math correctly, carried the one.
Yeah.
I think.
And the square root. I took the square root as well, just to be sure.
I don't remember talking about the Wookiee one, but maybe.
The Wookiee one?
Usually I try to put something
the
on the
Wookiee.
cover,
No, we did do the Wookiee one.
Let me take a listen real quick.
I'm pretty sure we did. But I didn't think we talked a lot about it because we was always trying to squeeze other stuff in, so I think it got a bit
truncated. Yeah, it shortchanged at the end because it would have been the most recent thing, and we were talking about the stuff from before.
I seem to remember us trying to move everybody along, so that 10 minutes for this one, 10 minutes for that one, because we kept getting caught up in others.
Yeah, I just posted somebody that was asking questions, issues we never had before or whatever, when we didn't have a whole lot of Star Wars content with regards to now there's so much that cramming it all into one Senate session is challenging. In any sort of, the way we used to, where we just discuss things and whatever came up and went wherever it went. There's just so much to go over, so much to talk about, which is awesome.
So that means we've got 6 episodes of The Bad Batch. But we'll condense the double one into one episode. We won't discuss the part 1 and discuss part 2. Because I seem to remember it didn't really end with a
right. It just ended at the 30-minute mark.
It just ended, didn't it? Yeah.
What was the 2-parter? Them in the mine for Ipsium or whatever?
No, that was the clone one. Hang on, no. I mean, no, you're right. There were other ones that were sort of like parts, but they weren't officially. They're separate stories contained in a continuing story, weren't they? So she said. So we have the Clone Conspiracy double ones. Then we have the one when Sid sends them to the mine, and then you have the next bit where they have to get their ship back. Then we got Xeno Beast, and then we got the one we just had.
That's actually a lot. Wow.
That is a lot.
We did the one after that had the big machine thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But yeah, we did that one. And the one after that is the Wookiee one, Tribe. And then the one we need to start with, episode 7, the Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences.
All right, so that was the last one, was the one with the giant robot, and then the one with the Wookiee, right? Those were
yeah, that's what we determined. We got to discuss the Clone Conspiracy. Our first is the Clone Conspiracy with the assassin, Palpatine being sneaky, Palpatine being Palpatine, really, but trying to put the clones out to it's the beginnings of putting the clones out to pasture to some extent.
Did I miss an episode? Because all of a sudden that one doesn't sound familiar.
Is that the one with Crosshair when he does that snipe move?
I swear to God, I might.
Crosshair was in it because Crosshair hasn't been anything in a while. This is with Bail Organa, Tucci, and the Senate, Rotunda, and they're talking about what to do with the clones and introducing, it was highly entertaining, introducing legislation to create a pension fund or something for the clones. I don't remember what all they were trying to do, but there was stuff in the Senate they were trying to deal with the clones versus, they're not droids where you can just shut them down. They're clones. You have to do something with them.
Okay, I kind of remember that one.
And
Right,
so-
that's the one that had the assassin.
Oh, that's right. Now, okay. Thank you.
Is it Rex? Is Rex? Well, how does Rex get involved? Rex is definitely there with the assassin because he says, or I might be confusing now because the dude says you're you're old school, you're a relic, and he dies. He bites down on the whatever. Yeah, this was the episode, right? That was the episode. The assassin, I'm pretty sure this is that episode. The assassin we all thought was going to be, they made it out to be, we thought it was going to be Crosshair, but it was not. It was somebody else.
Okay, so now I didn't miss something. I was like, Crosshair? I don't remember seeing that one.
Yeah, because we haven't seen Crosshair in a long, long time.
Yeah, until this week.
Mm.
I'm not spoiling anything for anybody, am I? Because we should have all seen it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
So it's crosshair is the thing you look down the barrel of the gun to see the target thing, isn't it? See the line. What's crosshair? Presumably because it's the width of a hair.
I think what you're referring to is more technically the scope, and then the little T that's in your field of view. If you look through the scope, is the crosshair would be the thing that helps you sort of.
Yeah, that's the thing that helps
target your. So yeah, it's a very thin line of T, and that's what's on his eye. That's the tattoo or the marking that's on his eye. He has that circle with the
that scar or tattoo or whatever it is that he has. It's a crosshair. It looks like it's what you see when you look into the scope of a gun.
So yeah, what you asked about, Stephen, would be referred to as a scope. But what you see in the scope is your target at the other end, and the crosshair trying to help you line it up. But you got to
look down a gun. You Brit.
Generally like down the barrel of a gun. Yeah, at least not. I think another switch though. Yeah.
Note that all the Americans know this somehow.
I have never had a real gun in my hands. I suppose that's not something that many Americans can say.
Real. How about a BB gun? Would you consider that a real gun? I would not. So I can say the same thing. I don't think I've ever had a real gun in my hands.
I mean, my brother was a cop, so I've had a gun in my hands once or twice. I never shot it, but like
surprisingly heavy, I think, is what
I'm the only
say,
one that's
right?
ever gone shooting then.
Ricky's got a gun for every day of the week.
No, I have one, but I have it locked away. But yeah, we used to go shooting and stuff all the time regularly. But it's been years, decades.
He basically lives in the wild, wild west.
He's got to have some sort of protection from the tremors.
Yeah. Well, we have Kevin Bacon nearby.
In California, where we spend our time hugging trees.
It's just funny because we used to go, like when I was younger, out to the desert to shoot, right? Because there's nothing out there and it wasn't really like regulated. That's where my house is now. So.
Wait, go out in the desert to shoot? That's where your house is now?
Yeah, there didn't used to be houses over here, but it keeps expanding more and more west. So.
Yeah. So you were in that was all desert. Where I'm right now. This used to be fields.
Yeah. This is like the river bottom. We'd go romping with our 4x4s and go shooting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure safe to say Stephen is in a very old place, and so am I. My house is like 100 years, 110
Stephen
years
might
old.
have like a sword and a stone in his basement or something.
Well, it might be somewhere in the legends of King Arthur is that he had a castle in Tintagel. It's only a rumor, but it's only ever been a rumor or legend and stuff. But they have been finding things gradually over the last 10 years, which sort of suggests that maybe that it wasn't quite a myth.
Find any Merlin artifacts?
There were the ruins of a castle or a fort somewhere around there, weren't there?
There are, yeah, but they don't think that one's not old enough to be his. But they have done some excavations around there. They have found that there's a lot more stuff out there than they thought. Because not these things were myths and stuff. There's never, there's no smoke without fire, is there?
Right.
They come from They come from some resemblance. I don't think there's a lady in a lake holding up a sword, but
Some sort of like a pre-British Roman duke or something is what they think.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of the studying because this was like an obsession for me when I was in high school. I had this thing about King Arthur. Don't ask. It came from reading what was it? The Crystal Cave, I think it was, which is a kind of a take on Arthurian legend, but it's from like Merlin's point of view. Young Merlin's point of view.
Yes.
Listen, strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
Help, I'm being oppressed.
Look, if I went around saying I was emperor just because some moistened bint had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away. Very obscure. No, not obscure, but I have them noted because they're just funny. But I'd never remember them word for word like that. But Monty Python quotes to get us started.
Stephen, I'll have you know I'm having a cuppa at the moment.
Moistened bint.
I've still not seen much Monty Python. It's just a shame, really.
You definitely need to see that one, because especially with the King Arthur references, because whoever's going on and on about the throwing scimitars out of lobbing things, or what is it the quote about strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government was always just drop dead funny.
Yeah, well, that whole movie's drop dead funny, isn't it?
Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony. Anyway, all right, let's.
The BBC. I was just saying the BBC Merlin series is very good. If you guys watch that over there.
I never watched that.
Apparently, Merlin.
I am having a cup of tea, Stephen. So.
Oh, you're just having a cup of tea. A nice cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm having a cup of tea, so not coffee this morning.
Right, so we're not going to have any news this week. Well, no news segment because Ryan isn't here and I haven't done any.
So are we doing Mando too, or are we just doing Bad Batch?
Bad Batch, and we'll do Bad Batch first. That's the most we've got to get rid of, and then we'll get to Mando.
If there's time, we can get to Mando. I mean, there's only 2 episodes of it so far, so.
Yes, I mean, we could probably discuss it as I just read them both out, and then we discuss them as one because there's not a huge amount in some respects.
No, and some of the Bad Batch episodes aren't too detailed.
And you guys, let me know issues because I don't have my AirPods today. I left them in the living room, and I don't feel like getting them because I have a cat lying on me. And I'm also doing this lying down because I have a cat lying on me.
You sound just fine.
You actually sound really good. Usually you're kind of low, but you sound really good right now.
Okay.
What was I going to?
Well, maybe if the cat has any input, do that as now.
Oh, news, Stephen. You could do a brief news segment, and the news is the Celebration Europe is coming up in a matter of weeks. So get your tickets now.
Oh no, somebody else come out. Mary's not. You're not going, are you?
Oh, do you want Friday and 2 Saturday tickets? You can have them.
Somebody can mention it in passing, but I'm sure we'll have. Yeah, there are stuff that's starting to be announced for that, but I haven't got any of it to hand.
Yeah, me neither.
There's loads of people that have said, "Oh, this person's coming, that person's coming, this person's coming." I mean, Star Wars actors and actresses and stuff.
They've released the artwork for the badges and stuff, and I'm really bummed that I'm actually not going because it's really nice.
That's actually my screensaver on my phone right now.
Yeah.
Marie, how do you have a Friday and 2 Saturdays? You're taking a friend. 2
Fridays and 2 Saturdays. It's me.
Okay.
It's me and my friend, but I can't make it because I don't have enough vacation time, and I have other things that I've been dealing with, so I don't have the vacation time to jet off to London.
When is it again?
Easter weekend.
Is it?
Yeah.
Again? Oh, that was such a pain when that happened that weekend. They did that a few years ago.
That's
not so annoying.
God, it's come up quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of quick. But anyone, Stephen, who has designs on going and can't get a ticket, I have 2 Friday and 2 Saturday passes available.
Oh, but here, yeah.
Wasn't it last time it was over there? Wasn't it Easter weekend too?
No, it wasn't. That was in July.
What was the last one that was in Easter then?
I think one of the times in Orlando, I seem to think they did a Sunday They were doing some. They were trying to have some ceremonies, or had some Star Wars fans that were there that were priests or chaplains or whatever. Having some things before the show opened, or in hotels or something like that. I don't know why I remember that, but
I remember I was trying to cook stuff for Easter to take to my mom's and watching the stuff on my iPad. Cause
there was a celebration in Europe in maybe, what was it, 2018? But
yeah,
the 2016 one was in July. I know because I was there.
Yeah, one of them I know fell on Easter before. I'm like, this is a dumb weekend to have it.
Or that could have been when was that? 2015, when it was in Anaheim? I don't quite remember, but I know that was in April, around the time that Easter would fall.
I don't know. I don't remember. I have to look it up. That's weird.
I'm a bad Catholic, sorry.
Were your tickets going to go to waste?
My tickets are going to go to waste, yes.
Oh dear. And then if I do find anybody, is there a physical thing, or can you get like an email code or something to them, or to however that would work, or does something need to be mailed to somebody physical?
I think you have to go through the light ticket exchange, because mine is in international order, so it's a will call. So they might have to go through the light ticket exchange.
Okay, I'll see if I can find someone to make use of them. I don't know if they would be willing. I'll try to get some money for you too, or whatever. But anyway, we'll see what we can.
Yeah,
get for them to go to waste.
Email address, and they can look up the tickets on the ticket exchange, and we can do the thing or whatever.
We'll see if I can put people in touch and make things work out in the positive for folks. Because it would be a bummer for them to go to waste, and if somebody wants to get into the place, that would be a positive.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get a foyer because they sold out like right before I got in to get them. But
it was brutal trying to get tickets for sure.
Oh yeah, it's been brutal trying to get tickets for anything lately.
I say we just give them to Steven and he straps on a microphone and goes walking around.
Well, he needs to take a friend. Do you have any friends you can go with, Steve?
I have no friends.
If only it was close.
Equipment.
I'll be your friend.
I have no Star Wars friends that I know of anyway. Not here.
I thought.
Right, we better get going. We've got stuff to tickle. We've got stuff to get through.
We got a bad batch of bad batches.
We got a bad batch of bad batches. Yes. Okay. So is everybody ready? Got a comfy seat? Okay.
You see, I don't know.
The cat has. Yeah. Okay, let's get going.